I love smelling tuna every day, all the time, all day, any day, every day, all night. Not only do I like smelling tuna all night, but I also definitely like to drink a little bit of the juice right out of the can. All night. I don't mind when the juices run all down my chin. It makes me feel nice and dirty.
That's a tuna, bro! Look at that thing! That's a tuna, bro!
Oh, yes. The guy that smells tuna. And that led people to sending me people eating toilet paper, people eating the stuffing out of pillows.
Did you go down that rabbit hole last night? I
didn't.
Okay, I got one email from somebody that said, you got to check this show out. There's a lot of weird addictions. I said, yeah, I don't. Tonight's not the night. Eventually I will. I just didn't want to do it last night.
Yeah, I'm not a. I don't want the smelling tuna. I'm not going to do. Everything else, I'll just worry that I'll start doing it. That's the power of suggestion. That's my capacity to absorb other people's neuroses is only so high until it starts to bother me. And then I worry, well, if that could happen to them, it's going to happen to me.
Well, I think that's just human nature. You have to be, just completely uncurious to see that somebody is addicted to, huffing computer duster and think, oh, well, I wonder what that would do for me. Yeah, it has to be a passing thought.
Well, it's interesting that you'll say that because this was taboo subject for many years, but the idea of having a thought that was self-destructive. But yes, I think that is true. And because you'll go, well, computer duster, I could go buy as much of it as I want right now.
Right.
Like if this person likes it so much, like I wonder if it's cool.
Keep talking me into it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you think is that I could just sniff duster all day. Plus, this girl's good looking. She's local. If you know who we're talking about, is the duster girl. I don't know if this is who Hardy's talking about.
I'm just talking about it in general. It's not a.
Yeah, there was an episode of Intervention, one of the first episodes of Intervention, and probably the best episode ever of Intervention. There's an attractive woman who I heard is fine now, is doing well.
Good.
From Rhode Island, who was addicted to duster. This is decades old too. This is not this didn't happen yesterday. And you've never seen it, and she sings "I'm Walking on Sunshine" while she's sniffing dust.
I think I heard you play portions of it, but I never watched
but it's
the
part of the
episode.
zeitgeist. It's not just this show uncovered it. It's it's a pretty common. When people think Intervention, they go, "Oh, it's the duster chick." She was the star of the show.
Yeah.
And you can Google I bet you if you Google duster Intervention, that there will be 100 websites, 1,000 websites.
Well, here's one. Here's Matthew. Here's Allison.
It's Allison.
Okay.
Yeah, that's who it was. Because it was an attractive lady. And I just read that she's doing well now.
Good. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I never tried it, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about what's going on there? What happens?
Yeah.
Where does it take you? What do you get out of it?
Yeah, my capacity for trying different drugs is very low. I was not a big experimenter with drugs. I've never done any. I don't think I've ever done any drug that's illegal now, because I obviously smoked weed before it was legal, and I smoked angel dust by accident because I had a dusted joint, which is I can understand why people smoke angel dust.
PCP.
Because
Germ.
it's like taking acid and amphetamine at the same time. It's really putting yourself in a nightmare. a physical and mental nightmare. So I can understand why people do it.
Like to get wet.
Russell Simmons loved to get wet.
That's right.
Russell Simmons was notorious for smoking dust constantly. But so I was always afraid to experiment too much. I didn't drink really until I was in college. I was always afraid to experiment. I've never done a hallucinogen.
See, the hallucinogens never interested me, and I did like a few things, but I never did mushrooms, never dropped acid, and that took away a lot of things that I would be, probably had gotten into or done those things, but that stuff never interested me. Here, take this. What'll it do? Oh, you're going to be so screwed up you won't know up from down. No, I would rather get, really mellow or get really amped up. I just want to be a lessened or heightened, state of where I am right now. I don't want to be transported to a different universe.
Yeah,
that was never like what I was going for.
Yeah, I just want to be everything lesser than. Like I didn't want to be sped up at all. I did not need that. I did not want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because there was so much acid around me when I was in high school, like so much acid. John never even saw acid. He doesn't even know anyone who took acid.
True.
For John's era, it was probably mescaline. I'm not even sure what that was.
Well, he was friends with Owsley. I mean, John used to hang out with Owsley. I mean, he got that original Owsley.
Really? Does anybody know what mescaline is?
I have no idea.
It might be acid for all I know. But
No clue. I'd have to Google it.
I've
heard of it, obviously.
70s
Jim Norton
drug.
does a whole routine on mescaline. I have no idea what it is.
Well, John used to have peyote. He would go to the desert and perch on a cactus.
Right.
To get the peyote. But I had a friend who sold acid, and he had liquid acid, which seems like a dangerous proposition. Because he's this loser in high school putting drops of liquid acid on blotter paper. And I'm like, this doesn't seem to be a science. This kid Lee with his mulleted red hair is randomly putting droplets of liquid LSD onto blotter paper. It doesn't seem like there's a uniform amount of acid on every piece of paper. He's getting all over his hand, and he's like, and people are gonna buy this off you?
Just take it, dude.
The threat of it there was always the threat of it because it was around so much. I've told this story on the air at least 5 times, but my friend Craig in middle school was in front of me in science class, and he had taken acid at lunch, and he turned around and he was like, not freaking out, but he was not happy. And he was like, I can't write. And I was like, what do you mean? I started laughing, and he shows me this piece of paper, and it's just scribbles. And the same kid that had the liquid acid that he was putting on the blotter paper, Lee.
Yeah.
When I went into public school, he smoked a joint that was laced with Drano.
Yeah.
And he stood up in class and went, and then fell down. And I guess it was just the funniest thing in the history of the world.
Oh, man.
Don't worry about my man. He's just taking the Drano dive. He's going to be okay.
Just give him a slice of orange and I'll talk him through it.
Right. Anybody got some Allman Brothers? Put it on real quick. We'll get him down.
We'll get him in the chill tent. Don't worry. Yeah, there was.
I did whippets.
I've never done a whippet.
Oh yeah, that I did, and I think it's the same thing you do when you do like a nitrous balloon.
Yes, it's nitrous.
But it takes it's gone in 30 seconds. It's all done.
Well, did you ever see Steve-O do them?
No.
So there's this PCP Saved My Life. You can watch it on YouTube, and it's he taped himself all the time, and he was in the throes of PCP, but whippets were the major thing. So he had those cartridges, those metal cartridges.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he tried to make it so he wouldn't breathe oxygen. So he had this gun, with the whippets in him, and his face would just go blue, blue, legit blue.
Ooh.
It would just turn blue, and he'd be like, and then go and put another cartridge in, and then before he then he'd exhale and then just breathe in the other cartridge. It's freaky. Like, he's lucky he didn't have a stroke. But yeah, he taped himself. He's got balls putting it out too, because it's like him at like these terrible moments, him by himself, like taping himself, like talking about like how he's God and like da 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 da. Not good.
I did I mean, a couple of times somebody would have him at a party in high school, but there was one we were going on a field trip somewhere, which had to have been early on, because I don't think we took many field trips like junior or senior year, so maybe like freshman year, driving somewhere, and somebody somehow got him like on the bus and was passing him around and listening to my Walkman. I remember for some reason I had Led Zeppelin on my Walkman, and it was and he do the whip it, and it really does enhance the stereo effect. And it was just bouncing from like one side of my head to the other. I'm like, this is great. And then 10 seconds later, it's gone. Like, oh, well, that's
Yeah, that's the thing.
not really worth it.
When they give you nitrous at the dentist, it's not that great. Like, it's not like exciting or like makes you feel like all great. Because when I had this filling put in, like this, or this fake tooth put in, they would give you nitrous before they, sedated you.
Yeah.
And I remember going, ooh, this is neat, like nitrous. And then just going like, I don't know, nothing's happening. Like, it doesn't really feel like much is going on.
Well, it takes a lot to penetrate, your armor that you've built up over the years, Fred.
Yeah, toughness is what you're talking about. I understand.
Saturation, toughness, give it a name.
Dyed in the wool, toughness, manliness, machismo. I understand what you're saying.
Tolerance, whatever. It's,
No
it's
chemical
all...
can get through this. I'm like Rambo.
Right.
That's my nickname around here is Rambo.
That's one way of
That's what Mike and Nick have been calling me, Rambo, for years on account of my physique and the way that the government screwed me over.
Right. And the fact that you did serve under Richard Crenna for a time.
Which is...
and he's not going to talk me out of those woods.
He's a real dandy. Sitting there in that bar afterward with Brian Dennehy, and he's drinking something out of a snifter. Wouldn't you think that a war-torn... Is he a general? Probably not. Colonel. Would be just drinking a beer or having like a scotch on the rocks. He had like a snifter of brandy as he's sitting there in the bar with Brian Dennehy.
The older guy doesn't trust the glasses in the bar, I want my own stuff. You know
but it's not a flask, like a snifter.
No, I understand what you're saying,
snifter.
but
Okay.
Maybe that's to illustrate that he was not like an infantryman. Maybe that's to illustrate that maybe that was on purpose, that he was
refined.
Like... Yeah, really like a refined leader. Like maybe it's to make you not like him a little bit. Like, who's this son of a bitch with a snifter? Like, I want a beer and a shot.
I don't know. He was Rambo's ally in the first one, in First Blood.
Yeah, but I mean, he still represented the hierarchy.
Yeah, the authority.
Yeah. All right, Hardy. Hockey night in Boston last night.
That's right. Not in Boston, but
no, but I mean, for us in Boston to watch on television. I know it was in North Carolina.
Sure.
If you want to get crazy about it, with those dumb hicks that say "God bless your heart" when you hang up on their writers.
So we have news from the Bruins game. We have news from the Knicks, and it's not good for the Knicks. And a few things happening in baseball. We'll get to all of it and what happened last night.
All right, so we will have that for you in one moment. This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
More Toucher and Hardy. Be listening this morning at 6:55 for your chance to score a pair of tickets to see the Black Keys International Players Tour November 1st at the TD Garden. Tickets on sale today at 10 a.m. through Ticketmaster.com. Head on over to 98.5 The Sports Hub's contest page for another chance to win. Hardy, it's very exciting. What's going on? What happened last night? People were asleep early. Let them know.
Okay, well, the Bruins were in Carolina to take on the Hurricanes. Both teams headed toward the playoffs, and Brad Marchand had not scored a goal since when? You want to take a guess?
10 games. It had been 10 games. I know that. I don't know the specific date.
Oh, so John just gave it away.
Well, March 9th, and on March 9th, he scored his 399th goal. So this was something I wasn't particularly aware of or paying all that much attention to, but
nice
it was
sports talk host.
Well, it was the elephant in the room, and it was something that I don't know. He plays well, and he does plenty on especially on the penalty kill, and he does a lot in games, and he's chalked up assists in the games since then. But he was just waiting for that 400th goal. And finally, last night.
Over to the near wall. Coyle chipped it ahead. Up right wing. Geeky over the line with a break. It's Marchand. Backhand. He scores! Brad Marchand. His 400th goal. Grab that puck. It's a milestone marker. Bruins 1. Hurricanes nothing.
2:12 into the first period. It was a dirty goal, too. It was a great pass that Marchand scooped up just before he entered the zone, and it was not a typical Marchand move on the breakaway. The thing ended up slipping underneath the pads, and whatever.
Do you think Judd is who I think him and Beers are great. Do you think he's John, you would know since you've done play-by-play, do you think he's overcompensating for being bored?
No.
Because he's pretty jazzed up about that goal.
It was a great goal.
It was the best.
Okay,
we're going to pass to find him a breakaway. It was a nice move.
It was a great goal in the way it happened. It was early on in the game. He was very excited. I don't think he's overcompensating. Let me poo-poo that notion right now.
All right. Well, I mean, it wasn't like the greatest goal. I mean, it's not something that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives.
Let's do the Mount Rushmore of goals. What are the greatest goals?
All right. Here we go.
Bobby Orr.
Well, I mean, just
that's
him
number
flying.
one. That's when you look from left to right, Bobby Orr is on the left-hand side to win the Stanley Cup flying through the air. So let's start the conversation right there.
I remember in February there was one by
that guy?
Yeah.
That was really good.
There was one by Dougie Hamilton. It was a huge deal.
Dougie Hamilton.
Dougie Hamilton's hurt, apparently.
Who cares?
I just know he was hurt. Because they were talking about, I heard Beers talking about hockey. And he was like, such and such a. So some kid might win Rookie of the Year. He's not going to win it, but he's a candidate because he's like on Minnesota or something. And Dougie Hamilton's hurt, so he's playing a lot. I'm like, ooh, Dougie Hamilton.
It's interesting we're talking about Carolina and that writer we were talking about in the first segment. One of the things that guy said is that Dougie Hamilton, when he was playing for Carolina, was great, a mentor to the young kids. And I just remember him being an ass.
The guy didn't know. I got newsflash. A lot got lost in me hanging up on him. He was terrible. Like he said something about like the Hurricanes score more goals than other teams.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's right.
Like it was like enough. It was
That's how
enough.
they pile up all those wins. Fred.
Dougie Hamilton's like this great mentor.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's a jackass. Everyone thinks he's a jackass. It's killed his career. He's jackassed himself out of. I mean, he's a talented big kid.
He's bounced around a lot.
He's bounced around a lot because his attitude sucks.
He doesn't. He didn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be most places. I don't know where he wants to be, but sadly, for someone as good at hockey as he is, he doesn't necessarily want to be in a locker room and playing with a hockey team. I don't know what he wants.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of garbage information coming from that hillbilly.
Yeah.
A lot of death threats coming after I hung up on him, which I found odd. Like, you want to kill me?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, you like a dumb son of a bitch. I hope you die. I hope you kill yourself. God bless your heart.
And then you had that guy that was going to come up here because his wife is from New Hampshire and beat you up.
Oh, yeah, there was the guy from, and then he called, and then when I made fun of him, he called Rick Radzik 55 times, my program director.
Kyle, I forget his last name.
Yeah, you know, we all have.
How did he get Radzik's phone number? Oh, no,
you
that
got it
was
from
someone.
Cedric Maxwell.
That's right, That's right. Max, who was a guest of his weekly, gave him Rick Radzik's number. And the best thing was, when we had Max on, he was like, yeah, I heard that you guys couldn't figure out who it was that gave him Rick Radzik's number. I did it. I gave it to him.
That was me.
I did it.
Here's the thing. I guess I can't relate. So this isn't for the females out there, but for men, don't when you go and tell on someone to they're higher up, it never seems to pan out. Just don't do that. It's like I've never done it. And I don't have to suffer what did you think Rick Radzik was going to do? You thought he was going to fire me because
storm
I
in here and
offended
give you a vicious tongue lashing.
I mean, Jesus Christ! Like you're a psycho. Like don't. It's just my advice to men. I can't speak of women because I don't know what you go through in the workplace. I'm being dead honest. I just don't know. Like there might be no other option. But for men, don't tattle. It's a very unseemly thing to do. It just short of like someone like really like harming you in a way that you can't seem to get out of tattling.
Yeah.
It doesn't ingratiate you with the management. I can tell you that.
Right. Okay, so Fred thought that was a stupid goal, and he didn't like it. Did you like David Pasternak's goal at the 7:42 mark of the first period?
Yes, he went top shelf.
Well, I found it to be just odd.
Dragged in by Zaka near point. Wings it across. Pasternak's got it. Drifts to the corner. Stick handles left of the cage. Who's going to take him? Walks out in front. He scores!
Spoiler alert, nobody took him. There were two guys who could have at either moment dropped down and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm at least going to get in between Pasternak and my goaltender, in between Frederick Anderson there. Now, I don't want to screen my goalie, but I think I should probably try and make some kind of move on the puck or on the man. I don't know. God forbid you check the guy who's holding the puck who is 6 feet away from your goalie. Instead, he just stick-handled around one guy. The other guy said, I want nothing to do with that. Actually went further up in the slot, and Pasternak was just like all alone. He said, I guess I can just put that puck here.
What a goal that was! David Pasternak saw the miscommunication, just drove to the far post, went top shelf, his 47th, 2-0 Bruins.
So that made it 2-0, and that was all the Bruins would end up needing as they would go on to win that game 4-1. Kind of a fun empty netter at the end, too, from Hampus Lindholm, who probably would have gotten in trouble for icing the puck at that moment of the game, but sent the puck all the way down the ice and got the empty netter.
Yeah, Swayman had the puck on his stick, and you could see he was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because Linus Ullmark scored one last year. But two things about the goaltending. First of all, Swayman was great last night.
Yeah.
It's back-to-back games where he's been really, really good. And the other thing is Jim Montgomery, during the pregame, had a little nugget of information, and they asked him about playoff goaltending rotations. He said, I'm comfortable with the rotation now and into playoffs, which means to me, Hardy, that he is going to rotate. It's not set in stone, and we all realize Linus Ullmark's been the far better goaltender over the last month, but I think what he told us earlier in the season still goes. It's a rotation. He got burned badly last year, and he is dead set on trying it against whatever team they have in the first round.
As long as it gets them I'm not moving the bar on these guys based on what happened last year, win around in the playoffs. That would show me so much because going into the season, they were depleted. Just on paper and roster-wise, they were not as good a team to start the season as they were last year.
Well,
and they got bounced in the first round. So you know what? That'll show me something. Go out there with this squad and win a round of the playoffs. So I'm not going to move the goalposts on them, but I still think it's like kind of silly to have this as something that you've built your identity on. You know, two really, really good, borderline great goaltenders back there. Okay, one will do, especially in the postseason. One is all you need, but they've got two, so they're going to play them both. Okay. Yeah, it's far past the point of bitching about it now.
The good news is, I mean, the Bruins went through a tough patch a few weeks ago. Now they're playing well again.
Yeah.
Just at the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, the playoffs are less than 2 weeks away. Now's the time to play well, and they are. They're playing very well now.
Is there anything you want me to put on my sign when I go to the game Saturday that I cried and bitched about to get tickets?
I think it has to do with ABC. I think you always incorporate the network. So we got to come up with something cool.
Ass, butts, caboose?
No.
Well, that's repetitive. You don't want that.
Well, I mean, it's three things you like.
Arse.
That's true.
Do arse. And that way they'll think you're British.
Ah.
Yeah.
Would have been just like, smother me, Johnny.
Well, no, it's not. I wouldn't be doing the smothering, Fred.
I just have a picture of you and then say, anyone want to smother me?
Oh, okay. You can do that.
I'm suffocating,
But
and
they'll
I
know-
like it.
They'll know it's not you. They'll know it's not me. So
Yeah.
that kind of ruins the purpose.
That's all right. Yeah, I got to go there and I got to figure out how to get on the television.
Yeah, what's the point of going if you're not going to get on the TV set?
I want to at least be on the Jumbotron
Yeah.
so I can, and then I'll dance. So I dance. Ever been next to an adult who danced during every stoppage of play?
Yes, I have. In fact,
Yeah. It's annoying.
try going to a college basketball game sometimes at a big game at a big venue.
Like kids,
A lot of dancing.
Like
Lot of
kids, like the wonder of being on that biggest screen. Like
Yep.
it's great. I guess it's kind of gone away with the internet, but still. But an adult. Mm-hmm. I told you the time I was at the Celtics game, and there was like these four guys that were all like dressed like they were bankers, like they were all dressed like attorneys, and one of them had a raincoat on, like a nice raincoat, and they were dropping the T-shirts on parachutes down.
Yep.
And the guy like ran and like grabbed one and was like jumping up and down that he had it, and then like took it and like put it in like the pocket of his like it wasn't even a T-shirt, it was something else, and he took it and put it in like the pocket of his jacket, like he was like, get the hell out of here with that garbage.
It's not only that. You have people that are dressed like that came to games from work. In Atlanta, they drop those Chick-fil-A, cows with parachutes, and they have gift certificates for one spicy chicken sandwich. It's like a gift certificate for something that costs $4.
Yeah.
And guys who are dressed like that, elbowing their neighbor to try and reach over and grab those things.
All right, let me ask you this, Walt. Like if a $4 bill were dropping out of the sky, would you not try and grab it?
No, because I know it was fake and not worth anything.
Okay, it's a thought experiment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jackhammer.
Sorry.
No,
What's
was
the
it
question
pre-shredded or did he have to shred it?
What's the question again, Hardy? I'm sorry. I'll try to be more serious this time.
Does he have to make it into nest material, or is it already made that way?
Yes, he does.
Because the confetti, I think, would be more interesting.
Well, but then you're just going all over.
Like,
the place.
like when a baby plays with the wrapper, more wrapping paper more
Yeah.
than the actual gift.
Are they allowed to drop the Chick-fil-A cows on Sundays? Or
Well,
is
that's
it?
a good question.
Yeah. Like I would say we do no business on these days.
Good question.
Including promotional giveaway items.
Right.
Yeah. All right. What's coming up, Hardy?
There was an injury with a team in the East for the NBA that, if they had their sights set on the playoffs, this is going to severely impact their ability to do well.
All right. We will have that for you. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
Bruins won in Raleigh, North Carolina over the Hurricanes last night. 4-1. David Pastrnak, his 47th goal. Brad Marchand, career goal number 400. Bruins have a big game to play against the Florida Panthers at TD Garden tomorrow. Celtics use the building for basketball tonight. They play Sacramento. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Patriots have the third overall pick in this month's NFL Draft. They'll host North Carolina quarterback Drake May today and Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels on Monday. And the Red Sox pitcher Cutter Crawford tonight as they open up a 3-game series against the Angels on the West Coast. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
from reality. Not a big fan of the Offspring. I apologize to everyone. I'm very sorry. I'm just not a big fan of the Offspring.
They have like good songs that I enjoy. Just it doesn't matter who it is. Like, that's a good song. Like "Want You Bad." That's like the good four on the floor like pop punk song. I like that. But there's just too much goofiness with that band too.
You don't like novelty songs? Pretty fly for a white guy.
Right. Why don't you get a job? Even come out. Their first smash hit from the album Smash. Come out and play.
I don't care for that song.
No, neither do I. And it's
good.
No,
I knew you had taste.
But they have, like, they can just write good 3-minute, pop punk rock songs.
Right.
They'd be fine with them if they just did that. But I think I had to spoil it with some of that stuff.
Plus, they made the drummer get vaccinated, and the singer is only an infectious disease expert and a doctor in infectious disease. So he wouldn't know.
Right.
That is funny. Like whatever, like about vaccines and listen, COVID. I talk about all the time because it's just fascinating to me how poorly it was handled. But if you don't know, like they kicked the drummer of the Offspring out of the band because he wouldn't get vaccinated because you needed to be vaccinated to play shows. Like they couldn't play shows without a drummer, and they couldn't play shows unless you were vaccinated, and the guy didn't want to get vaccinated. So they're like, sorry, we're going to have to go without you. Like we're going to have to tour without you. And the guy flipped out, and he's flipping out, but the singer of the Offspring is legitimately a doctor, like a PhD in infectious medicine.
Yeah.
Or like infectious disease, like or whatever, like he's an expert in the field.
Yeah, he's got the degrees, coming out his butt, and pretty smart guy. Like he pilots his own jet to shows.
So does Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden.
Yeah, well, he's no dummy, is my point.
Can you name 3 singers from punk rock bands who are also PhDs?
Greg Graffin.
Yes.
Bad Religion. Dexter from The Offspring.
Yes.
And it's got to be Milo.
Of course it's Milo Ackerman.
Yeah. As a PhD in biochemistry.
That's the one I knew right off the bat.
Yeah.
I knew that one immediately.
Did you know Greg Graffin from Bad Religion, John?
No.
Okay.
I know anything. I didn't know the other 2. I just knew Milo.
Oh. You knew the cool one.
Yeah.
The one that Bad Religion and Descendants begat The Offspring.
Is that biblical?
Yep. Oh yeah. You know where I was last Sunday.
That's right.
Raise them up. It's all because Mark Wahlberg inspired me. Go ahead.
The Knicks have been playing without Julius Randle. They hoped he'd be able to get his right shoulder right.
What, do you have an orange or something?
For what?
Julius?
Jesus.
Was he at the mall or something?
Yeah.
I'm doing Chip Chipperson. I apologize. Go ahead.
Instead, yesterday it was reported that he will undergo surgery to start right now, and he might be ready for the start of next season. Tom Thibodeau did not sound all that pleased about it. Something along the lines of, well, he's got to trust him and what's right for him, and, I'm just going to acquiesce here. Like, I think there is a belief that he could have played, but he has decided not to.
Thibodeau thinks everyone can play. Thibodeau is the guy that plays these guys 40 minutes a night, for no reason. Like he's the anti-Popovich.
Mm-hmm. It is Thib, by the way. I know we all say Tib, and that was his nickname, but that's I didn't mispronounce it. I just want that on the record, and I'd like that marked on the tape.
Got it. All right. Well, that's something I don't even know what you're talking about.
Could you mark the tape?
What just happened?
His nickname is Tibbs, but you pronounce his name Thibodeau.
And what was the difference between what we did?
I said Thibodeau. You said Thibodeau.
All right, so it's Thibodeau. Okay, very good. So Thibodeau is the kind
Hardy
of guy.
just wants to point out that he was right and you were wrong.
Did you think I was correcting you?
I think probably somewhere in the back of your mind, like that idiot. I'm going to say it the right way so we don't get calls.
No, I wouldn't assume. Believe me, that I knew how to pronounce it better than you. That's not would not be my assumption. But so Tom Thibodeau is he's the guy who runs these guys into the ground. He's the guy who doesn't rest anyone. So of course he doesn't think Julius Randle.
He's the guy who is basketball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Why aren't you the same as I am?
Yeah, he's a very good coach. It's just he's very difficult to play for, so it doesn't surprise me that he's like, well, I mean, why isn't he playing? Like, well, I want to play for the rest of my career. Like, I would like to play for another 6 years, and if I have the surgery, that's going to be a possibility. If I don't have it, it might end my career sooner. Yeah, but you could play.
Yeah.
Like, I could just totally see that. I don't. That doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
He seems to be a very difficult guy who is who loves collecting stamps, by the way, as we know.
So the Knicks are like right in the middle of the playoff pack. Right now, I guess if the playoffs started, they would have home court for round one, but that's in jeopardy. It's like neck and neck with Orlando.
Yep.
And you didn't love their chances before. Yeah. And there's a lot of talk, and while I speak to the Knicks as much as you want, I just want to throw this in here too quickly about the Sixers with Joel Embiid back. Mm-hmm. There is, I've heard a couple of analysts saying like it's great, but they still don't have enough, even with Embiid back. And as scary as that makes the Sixers, they are missing elements to the team this year that.
Yeah, well, Tobias Harris is another good player, and he's hurt. But if you look at the standings, the Knicks and Orlando tied for fourth at the moment, and then you have Indiana, Miami, and Philadelphia, and they're all within 3-4 games of each other.
Okay.
But ultimately, for the Knicks, they're 14 games over 500 as a team. They're only 2 games over 500 without Randle.
Right.
So, and
they're missing OJ, the other
OG
kid.
Anunoby.
They're missing him too. So they're playing very well.
No, they are.
Despite
Tibbs is squeezing as much as he can. That's what he's good at. He will wring his players dry and get the most out of them that he can. But playing Orlando is not a good thing at the moment. Orlando's playing really, really well.
No.
And so even full speed, if the Knicks and Orlando have to play in that 4-5 matchup, it was going to be really tough for them.
Yeah, and Harris for the 76 is only out a couple of games. But I wouldn't want to play him in the first round. I mean,
that's the thing. If you're a Celtic fan and you have to play Philadelphia in the first round with Embiid, yes, you should win that series. But it may take you 6 games.
Yes.
That's the problem. You want to there are bigger goals in front of you, and the last thing you want to do is, go toe to toe with a team and really struggle. Now, it would be preferable if you had a sweep in the first round, but if you have the Sixers coming in with Embiid and Tyrese Maxey in front, we talked a lot about Maxey. Maxey's a really good player, all-star this year for the first time. If you got to face those guys in the first round, yeah, you're better, but no, it won't be easy.
Yeah, it's for the exercise of, we're going to watch all the playoff games, it's way more interesting than playing like the Bulls or Hawks. I think it's more interesting than playing the Heat. Like, it's much more interesting.
Yeah.
So, because there is that chance that Embiid goes crazy and that you can't defend him, and
especially with all the rest he just got.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Yeah, he shuts down Porzingis. Like, there's, he takes something away from you because Porzingis can't cover, and Porzingis and Horford can't guard him. Like, they're going to have to figure something out.
Of the two of them, Horford has had a lot more luck. That's
right.
True.
But the height differential, I would imagine, is going to be a factor, and Porzingis obviously can't guard guys that size. We've seen that with Jokic. He just is. I mean, it's unfair to ask him. So that would be fun. I mean, it would be interesting. I don't care for the Knicks. The Knicks fan base really bugs me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Because like every comedian I know that's spent any time in New York City is all of a sudden #1 Knicks fan, and they don't know anything. It's a very ignorant fan base.
No.
They just feel like that. Madison Square Garden, hooray!
It's a scene, man.
Yeah.
Go to the next game.
They'll break your heart every year. Shut up. Will they?
I want to get to this. Rashee Rice's lawyer has been making statements, who apparently is also a state senator.
Ooh, a man of great power.
So, yes, his name is Royce West. So, Rashee...
is he on a roll?
Rashee Rice, very good. Has
that's 2.
Been putting out statements of his own, saying like, "I'm cooperating, I'm doing this." There's all these questions around it, like, did he actually go into the police station and say, "Okay, I ran away from the car crash, literally.
Yeah,
Got-
met with is like a big blanket statement. Could
Yeah.
be on Zoom, could be anything.
Right. And this is my favorite quote about this. So it turns out, number one, that he was driving the Lamborghini. A lot of initially we thought he was driving the Corvette, but Rashee Rice was driving the Lamborghini. There was a crash. There were 4 other cars involved. There were injuries. But why Rice left the crash Saturday was, quote, a good question that's still being investigated.
He wouldn't
According
tell them?
to his own attorney, State Senator Royce West, but declined to elaborate. Why did your client leave? It's a good question. We're still looking into that.
It's just, if you have money, man, he's so smart for running from that accident. Because the guy's still figuring out. He's like, I don't know what he's saying. That dude's not turning himself in until every I is dotted and T is crossed. He wants to make absolutely sure he's out of that jail in 10 seconds. Like that they process him right away.
That and every drug is out of his system.
I think that's already probably happened.
No, but I mean,
what if he comes in completely bald because he had to shave his head because they wanted to test his hair?
That's a good point.
Yeah, he shaves off his eyebrows, and his head.
Sure.
Charlie Villanueva style.
He's a young man that made a mistake, said his attorney. This is my second favorite quote. His heart goes out to those who are injured. Don't you normally send your heart out to like a disaster on the other side of the world that has nothing to do with you? There's nothing else I can do, but thoughts and prayers.
That's right.
My
Something
heart goes
you had
out.
nothing to do with. You specifically are responsible for all of
Yeah.
this.
He's going to get, you know where I,
You did this. It's on video.
okay.
What a shame.
It's your fault.
well, you get it. Say you were one of the people that got injured. What's the first thing you're doing?
Suing his
Yeah, and you're going to win.
Yes.
So these people
Here's
are
this
all
video, Your Honor,
Yeah.
of him causing
No,
the
no.
accident.
So he can say whatever he wants. I'm going to get a lot of money from him. I mean, he's paying for everything. I'm getting the guinea. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just funny that good question. We don't know why he ran. We're
Because they're
looking
thinking of it. He
You're-
doesn't want to give up his hand.
You're his lawyer. Have you asked him? Yeah, it's a good question. You know what? I should ask him.
You mean a lawyer's being obtuse? How dare you?
Yes.
I challenge that.
But the important part is Rashee's heart goes out to those affected by this terrible
by
incident.
the tsunami. Bert Breer is going to join us. We haven't talked about football all week. It's been quite a week, and then Bert's going to come in and give us our fix.
Oh, yeah.
Caller number 10 to the contest line, 617-931-0985 will score a pair of tickets to see the Black Keys International Players Tour November 1st at the TD Garden. Tickets on sale today at 10 a.m. through Ticketmaster.com. Head over to the 98.5 The Sports Hub contest page for another chance to win.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Bruins won their third in a row last night and got a night to remember from Brad Marchand.
Chipped it ahead, up right wing, Geeky over the line with a break. It's Marchand, backhand. He scores! Brad Marchand, his 400th goal. Grab that puck. It's a milestone marker.
That's Judd Surratt here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Marchand scored his 400th career goal in a 4-1 road win over Carolina. David Pastrnak added a goal and an assist as the Bruins finished their 6-game road trip with 4 victories. Florida shut out Ottawa 6-0 last night. They're 4 points behind the Bruins for first place with 5 to go. And their next game is against the Bruins at TD Garden tomorrow afternoon. The Celtics have wrapped up home court advantage throughout the playoffs already. They have 6 games left in the regular season. They entertain Sacramento at the Garden tonight. Granny and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jaylen Brown and Derek White are listed as questionable. The Patriots will reportedly host quarterback Drake May in Foxborough today as they get ready for the NFL Draft. It is 3 weeks from yesterday. Jaden Daniels is expected to come to Gillette Stadium on Monday. Red Sox had last night off. They're 5-2. They visit the Angels tonight. Former Sox center fielder Jackie Bradley Jr. has signed a contract with the Independent League Long Island Ducks. And the Oakland Athletics are no longer. They've agreed to play at the ballpark of San Francisco's AAA affiliate in Sacramento for at least the next 3 years. They are waiting for a new facility to be built in Las Vegas. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Dave & Buster's. Watch college hoops and WrestleMania this weekend on their 43-foot TV. Plus, all-you-can-eat wings Monday for the national championship reserved now. Braintree, Natick, Woburn, Providence, and Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Hey, if your alarm clock sounds like this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy.
I don't know.
Hey, Mackie Jones, baby, with his rap career.
Teaming up with Limp Bizkit, smart. Keeping it all in Jacksonville.
Yep, the Ville, baby.
Do you remember the Korn Limp Bizkit mashup song where they just busted on each other for the entire track? So you're from Jacksonville, kicking it like Buffalo Bill.
Oof.
I think it was
never
called.
heard
I think
that.
it was called "All in the Family." It might be one of the top 4 worst things ever recorded.
Yeah, you combine drugs, hubris, and no talent, and you give them as much money as they want and give them all the freedom in the world, and you're going to come up with a lot of crap.
That Break Stuff song. I was watching the video yesterday. I think it was Break Stuff. Has Snoop Dogg.
Yes.
Eminem makes like a brief cameo in it.
Well, he obviously got to the Dre's people. Like, he got to Dr. Dre's people, and he was like, and they're like, all right, you know, we'll pay you like this exorbitant amount of money or something to bring your. It's like the same people that were in the halftime show.
Yeah.
For the Super Bowl when they gave it to Dr. Dre in Los Angeles.
What was the documentary that blamed Limp Bizkit for Trump? Do you guys remember? Was it the Woodstock documentary?
Most likely. The Woodstock documentary.
I think that's what it was.
All right, so Limp Bizkit suck, right? I wouldn't play him on the radio in Atlanta. The DJ threatened to kick my ass, and I thought it was great, and I wanted him to come to the station, like the whole thing. But I will tell you this. The idea that they blame Limp Bizkit for anything that happened at that Woodstock is absolutely ludicrous. It's the dumbest documentary one of the dumbest documentaries
Well,
I've
there were
ever
multiple documentaries, I think. Weren't there? I think there were
but this
two.
is the Grantland one. This is the Bill Simmons one,
Okay.
and that was on HBO. That they were like, that if you
it was
put,
called Break Stuff, right? I think.
I don't know, but if you put me in front of that crowd and the crowd was like into Limp Bizkit, like terribly into it. What do you want him to do? Like not play to the crowd? Like how the hell is he supposed to know what's going on? It's entirely the responsibility of the promoters to handle all that. He's supposed to know that like that something's going on. Like you can't see the crowd. If you ever been on stage, all the light is on you.
Yep.
The crowd is invisible. Like you can't see them. Like there's no way to know what's going on out there. If you're playing like at a club, you can see in front of you. If you're playing at like a venue, like for instance, just trust me, you can't see anything. And so that's ludicrous that they were blamed for that. As dumb as Limp Bizkit is, that's completely unfair. And then they're like the rave tent, man, and it was a rave tent brought to you by Pepsi. And then Moby's like, I pulled up and I knew something was wrong. Well, you agreed to play Woodstock 99 in the rave tent sponsored by Pepsi. This wasn't like doing a abandoned warehouse in downtown Detroit. No, it's a corporate sponsored affair, you dumbass. Boy, that thing bothered me. And they're like, and someone died. Oh, no. Like someone died? Mm-hmm. Like people die everywhere. Like, I don't understand. Like, okay, like my friend died. Like, well, that sucks. Like, so this is a 4-hour documentary about it?
I feel like it was like, and the whole thing was like supposed to be like an indictment on our generation too. Like, I was 19 when that all happened, and it was like this horrible generation of people that just went around setting things on fire, and was. I mean, we weren't. I wouldn't say we were a great generation, but I don't think we deserved blame for.
They were trying to turn it into Altamont. And Altamont, the Rolling Stones concert where the Hells Angels killed the guy, and that was like the end of the hippie generation, like the peace and love. It was used as a symbol for the end of a generation, but there was nothing going on before Woodstock 99 except for the crappy bands that were playing, so it was the end of nothing. They tried to make it like, that's a good point, Bert. They tried to make it like that was the end. Like before that, it was Sarah McLachlan and U2 and what that generation. Now it killed alternative radio, but that music like killed the freewheeling like nice days of the early '90s and turned it into the grunge and all this BS.
One of the documentaries was more critical of the promoters, and that's if you're going to try and blame somebody for the mess that Woodstock 99 became, blame them for the price gouging and not having facilities out there and having it on an abandoned Air Force base where it's nothing but concrete and there was nowhere to go, nowhere to sleep.
Yeah,
and
it was one of the,
and they took no accountability for it at all.
And that's who like
hippies.
And I didn't go to it, but I know people who did, who said it was just the most poorly run thing you could possibly imagine.
Well, well, first of all, cool guys going to that, and second of all, I mean, like, what do you want to go to? I don't know, but I know Limp Bizkit's playing last one night. Like, how about not going?
Yeah.
Like, wow, this is.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Is like you're sort of asking for it. Like you give people all day to get blackout drunk, and then that's the last act. Like that's sort of what you signed up for.
And you mean these like hippies that have been had halos above their heads because they did the original Woodstock, and that generation is the most self-masturbatory generation in the history of generations.
Yeah.
That Woodstock generation really gets a kick out of themselves. And you mean to tell me that those guys sat there and didn't and were greedy and didn't plan it out? I mean, they've been held up as these like bastions of everything good in the world. And you see in the documentary the little guy with the curly hair running around, walking around like he's walking on water. Stupid, those dumb hippies.
And like we were, and again, like I think that that's sort of like that event was like wheelhouse for people my age, right? And we're the jackass generation. You know what I mean? Like, so again, like what did you think was going to happen when you put like that many people in one place where it's really poorly run, you don't have enough authorities on hand, and you're giving everybody all day, every day to get blackout drunk in like the middle of the summer?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think's going to happen?
And they're like, oh, and there was this rave tent and people were doing ecstasy. Well, what did
like,
you, that
no
was
crap.
what you wanted.
Like,
That's what you wanted by making this.
You put those acts in that tent, and what
in the middle of the night,
happen?
like this rave tent's going to go off with these DJs and light shows, and it's going to be from midnight to 5 a.m.
Like, what
and they're
exactly-
like, and then I did ecstasy, and I got really dehydrated. Go after yourself.
Yeah. Did you think everybody was going to enjoy like a nice
Zima?
soup and a half sandwich, and then head over to the rave tent at 3 a.m.?
Well,
No.
they thought it was the Pepsi rave tent, so they thought they were going to have a Coke and a smile.
But you're right. There's this romanticized notion of what Limp Bizkit was, and for like a minute, they were fun to listen to. Your radio, you wouldn't play them. Our radio station in Vegas, which was medium market, but it was still a pretty influential station
you
for
flat
that,
out wouldn't
for that
play 'em.
genre. We banned the band. We did not play them because they were such dicks, and they canceled a show that we had promoted for them and sold a ton of records.
So it was
for
on
them.
principle for you guys.
Yeah,
not me.
and this
You just didn't like the music.
I
It was
just,
on
I
principle.
thought
yeah.
that they were. I thought that they were. It was embarrassing for everyone involved.
But this station, we were like a heavy new metal. It was Korn, Limp Bizkit, Tool, System of a Down. It was like all the bands that were big of that, next wave of like harder alternative music. And we said, nope, no more Limp Bizkit. Didn't play them. And people loved the fact that we didn't play them.
Yeah, the DJ Lethal. He said he was going to come beat me up.
Do you think
A
he
large
still might?
man, DJ Lethal.
I don't know. He probably could beat me up, but I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I was like hoping he would come beat me up.
Well-
I was like 23 years old. I was like, this is the best.
Careful what you hope for. You might still do it.
No, I think me and Lethal would be down because I've picked up the ones and twos since then.
Oh, yeah, you do a little.
Oh, so you can speak the same language.
Yeah,
now.
I'm in a band where I go wicka-woo. I'm in a band where I don't sample anything or loop anything. I just make a scratching noise, which is like the least of everything a DJ does in real life. Like as if a DJ is just making scratch noises. Like when a DJ's in a hip hop band,
Right.
they're creating loops and they're taking the beat from a record and they're making that the beat of the song. It's pretty self-explanatory. The least of it is the noise of the scratch.
Yeah.
That is like that's like going like, look at how that guitar player holds a pick.
Yep.
Like, the least of the DJ's responsibility is the scratch.
You could do that with one turntable. You don't even need to.
You could take an infant and he could make a scratching noise to find the beat and go boom, boom, and bring it back to the beat and to loop the beat on two turntables.
What was that jazz musician who was talking? Oh, it was Herbie Hancock, and he had a DJ that did nothing but scratch sounds.
Yeah,
that's all. That's what he was there
Which
for.
is like the guy in the
Herbie
orchestra
Hancock.
who hits the cymbals.
Remember the song
that's-
Rocket? That was like this big
There's an art
deal.
to
Everyone knows who Herbie Hancock is.
And there's an art to that. You just can't clang those things together,
I
Freddie.
only
You
makes
got
me
to
think of
come on an
Tommy
angle.
Boy. I'm sorry.
All right.
Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, you
Tommy
guys are
Boy
very
was
immature,
great.
whatever you're talking about.
You know
Came in
Tommy
hot.
Boy.
There you
I've never
go.
seen it. No, I'm just
For
kidding.
you.
They were the next Laurel and Hardy.
It's Herbie Hancock.
Put your John Hancock on that right there.
I was a big Black Sheep guy. I don't know about you guys. That's where I was a big fan of that. Bert Breer is the senior NFL reporter
Yes, he is.
and lead content strategist for the
Oh, we
MMQB.
got all that off our chest.
You were late. Bert
I
is brought
was.
to you by Bentley University, a force for business, a force for
Disaster
good.
this morning.
Bert joins us live in studio this morning where we will talk about NFL. We have not talked about it this week.
Drake May in town.
Yeah.
Bert, breaking news.
We've
Today,
taken a
yeah.
break. We have taken a break from the NFL, and now Bert is back, and we will talk to him about everything, including Stefon Diggs, the quarterbacks in town, the J.J. McCarthy rumors. It's so much fun. We're going to have all the fun in the world in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the
We are Toucher and Hardy, Bert Breer from MMQB's in studio. All right, the Patriots have the third pick in the draft. We've exhaustively talked about the quarterbacks. Now we're hearing Drake May and Jaden Daniels are coming in for visits. Yep. Caleb Williams is going number 1. There have been rumors recently about the Patriots being interested in J.J. McCarthy. Bert, you go.
Yeah, so Drake May will be here today. He had some, I think, weather troubles getting in here for the same reasons anybody else would yesterday. But I presume the plan was for him to go have dinner with the Patriots brass last night, have his 30 visit today, and Jaden Daniels do the same thing next week. I haven't nailed down when J.J. McCarthy's coming in. I assume that'll happen. They've gone through everything with Drake May now, though. I mean, this is sort of the last box to check because they met with him. They had a formal meeting with him at the Combine. At his pro day, they were one of 2 teams that got time with him the morning of, because everybody was coming in from Baton Rouge. There were, I think it was 9 guys from the Patriots organization there for the sit down with Drake May in Chapel Hill. And then today is, another important piece of the process. And, it's interesting the way these things work. Like, I think Caleb Williams' 30 visit in Chicago earlier this week's a good example of how teams sort of can utilize this in different ways. They had 6 players in, so there were 6 draft prospects in. The reason they call them 30 visits is because you get 30 of them, right? You're allowed to have 30 draft prospects come and visit your facility. You can take them out to dinner. You can put them through a physical. You can interview them. You can't work them out. Like, that's got to happen on their college campus, but you can do a lot of different things with it. And the Bears, so the Bears had, what you normally do is bring the group out to dinner. Well, the Bears had the other 5 guys who were in town for their 30 visits go to dinner at one restaurant, and then Caleb Williams went to dinner at another restaurant with all the top brass of the organization.
Right.
And they actually put him at a table with a handful of veteran players. So they could see him interact with the older guys because, ostensibly as a quarterback, you're going to have to lead guys who are 5 or 6 or 7 years older than you if you're a rookie. And then they brought him in the day after. DJ Moore, for the first time all offseason, was in the building, and so they asked him to come in and be part of the 30 visit. So there are things that you can do to, test the guy in different ways, see the guy in a different environment, put the guy in your environment a little bit more and see how he's going to react and that sort of thing. So these can be a big deal. And, I think the most famous one here is the 30 visit that A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel had in 2019 and how that sort of changed the course of Bill Belichick's tenure here. So these can be important.
Right. And just because you brought it up, you've talked about it before, but the Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown thing, what happened?
Yeah, so the scouts really liked Deebo Samuel and A.J. Brown. Bill had sort of leaned back on, some of his own connections at Arizona State and, was a little higher on N'Keal Harry. Now, N'Keal Harry came in for his 30 visit and did awesome. But the scouts had warned him, there's a little bit of con artist to N'Keal Harry, so you have to have your guard up with him. And so he wins the 30 visit, basically. And then Deebo Samuel and A.J. Brown come in, and they have the same agent. And so they had basically been, I believe it was on a Friday that they came in. They had been on the road together all week. And so by that point, they had kind of built up this, healthy rapport and were comfortable around each other and joking with each other. And you saw some of that come out in social media. And I think Bill and maybe a couple other people here took that the wrong way. As they don't take it seriously and they're joking around with each other when really it was just kind of that the 2 guys had gotten to know each other over the course of the week. It had been a long week and they were screwing with each other.
So Bill was playing poker and he completely misread. He just misread the situation.
Right.
He overthought it and he misread it and he didn't.
And both these guys now are seen as really good pros.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
N'Keal Harry isn't one.
Well, is N'Keal Harry even on an NFL team?
He was. What was it, Minnesota?
I think the Vikings was probably the last one. Yeah.
I think that was Minnesota.
I mean, that was a terrible mistake that was based in hubris. So anyway.
Right. So that's an example of how sometimes teams can get carried away with the importance of a 24-hour exposure to a guy. But
I suppose if you're drafting a quarterback with the number 1 pick in the draft, you got to check every box. But I'm going to ask you, Bert, We've been through the machinations over and over again. We'll start with this. Is there any way it's not Drake May or Jaden Daniels at 3, that it's J.J. McCarthy at 3? Where I don't even know what these rumors are. I just see them on Twitter. What's going on with the whole J.J. McCarthy thing?
That's what I thought was hilarious about the afternoon guys. Is like, for 2 months they've been telling everybody don't believe anything. Everybody's full of it, and then they take what Tony Pauline says.
I don't know who's
as,
Tony
like,
Pauline.
Gospel. That's where this all came from.
I don't, who is he?
So he's, I mean, I don't know, a draftnik. Like
Okay.
Just please check out his batting average. Like and I'm not trying to discredit anybody, but this time of year there's a lot of stuff that comes out, and this is a guy who sometimes speaks in absolutes, and it's really hard to speak in absolutes this time of year. I'm not saying the Patriots aren't going to take J.J. McCarthy, but I wouldn't take something like that as gospel.
One guy who has a pretty good batting average is Adam Schefter. He had a podcast yesterday where he said all signs point now towards Jaden Daniels going to Washington at 2. That would mean Drake May, in theory, would come here. Are you hearing the same stuff?
Yeah, so I like the Jaden Daniels to Washington drumbeat has sort of gotten louder and louder and louder over time. There's like different reasons why people think that beyond what you hear, right? Which is generally defensive head coaches want the guy who's really hard to combat, right? Like, in the more athletic quarterback is a nightmare for a defensive head coach. So Dan Quinn's there. You probably want the more athletic guy. The more athletic guy is Jaden Daniels. On top of that, you look at Cliff Kingsbury's history. He's the offensive coordinator there, and who he's had over the course of his career, whether it's Kyler Murray in Arizona or Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes and like all these guys, the guys he had at Texas Tech, all these guys who have like creativity baked into their game, and Jaden Daniels is certainly that, So I've gotten some hints and like just some breadcrumbs from the pro day circuit that people who've interacted with Washington, over the course of the last 3-4 weeks on the road, think that Washington's taking Jaden Daniels.
Okay,
but I'm not sure. Like I think if Daniels were available to the Patriots, I think they would sprint the car to the stage.
What's the consensus on between the two of them?
So Jaden Daniels is really. Here's where it's like kind of gets a little tricky, right? Like, because I'd say Jaden Daniels is more polished. He's got a lot more starts in college. He's been at 2 different schools. He's played in different systems. Here's the thing. If Jaden Daniels had come out at the age Drake May is at right now, and that's what's so unique about this quarterback class, he might not have been drafted.
Right.
Because that was at the end of his time at Arizona State, right? So after 3 years at Arizona State, 3 years starting at Arizona State, he probably wouldn't have been undrafted, but he may have been like a day 3 pick. And it's a great credit to him that, like, he transfers to LSU and has 2 great years, but it puts in context where Drake May is right now too, where if Drake May stayed in college for 5 years, what would he become? If Drake May was throwing to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and all those guys at LSU, what would he be? And, I can say this, like, Drake May passed on substantial financial offers to go to Ohio State or Alabama last year, because he wanted to stay with his teammates at North Carolina, because he got loyalty to the school.
Even though they were like doing restructuring, and didn't he know like the offensive line wasn't going to be as good?
Killed him, right?
He's a nice boy.
And I think that there's a level of loyalty and sticking with it, though. Like, I do think that's. I think it's a credit to him. You know what I mean? Like, it's so, and look, like, it's not. His dad played there.
Yeah.
His older brother was a starting power forward. I mean, he's like a legacy there.
What's funny is I've heard that it might have been you who's told us that people it might not have been you, used that as a negative. Like, and it wasn't you. I heard it. It was, he doesn't want to. It's ridiculous. He didn't, he's never been out of that bubble, and he just wanted to be comfortable, and he's never played. You get him in New England, and what's he gonna? Oh, it's Cerrone Battle.
Yeah.
But Cerrone's down in North Carolina, so Cerrone Battle said that. So I shouldn't say it's ridiculous. I mean, I guess maybe he would know. Maybe you could. I shouldn't say that. Why did I say that? Maybe he's right. So I'll ask you:
Yeah, no, I would take like look, Cerrone battles on the ground there, and like
right.
he knows
I was trying to
you obviously
splice
have
out where I
different
heard
context if you're there.
Right.
Right.
Is there an idea that he was in this bubble in North? Because you could look at it both ways.
Well,
You could
yeah,
go,
I mean, certainly he like grew up in Charlotte. Like, there's that part of it is there, but that's the same thing people said about Justin Herbert. 4 years ago, because he grew up in Eugene, Oregon, and he'd never lived outside like a 15-mile radius, and then he goes to Los Angeles and he's fine.
This seems like a lot like Justin Herbert. It's too convenient, I know. They're big white guys, but the Justin Herbert was considered this like can't miss prospect. Then he faltered a little bit his last year in college.
Yep.
Was taken kind of as an afterthought in the middle
Bad
of the first
offensive
round.
scheme. They lost a bunch of people to graduation. Like a lot of things fit there.
And like Bert said, Drake May, we've known since high school. Drake May is believed to be this superstar quarterback his sophomore year. He goes into his junior year, he falters a little bit, and now there's these questions about him.
Yeah.
The similarities between the two guys are really something.
And again, like he's more of a. You want to go back to comparing him with Jaden Daniels. He's more of a projection than Jaden Daniels. Like,
right.
I think Jaden Daniels, I think is almost 24 years old. Like you have a pretty good idea of what he is, right? Like you have a pretty good idea of like, and that's sort of the problem with his frame too, is like you look at him, he's 210 pounds. Well, if he was 20, like JJ McCarthy, you could probably say, he might fill out a little bit. He's still really young. He just turned 21 in January. Like when a guy's 23, 24 years old, you're talking about something else. And he's been in a college weight program for 5 years. And it's a different thing.
Yeah, that's it. What Jaden Daniels is right now. If you have dreams of him putting on 20 pounds of muscle and bulking up.
Yeah, he's been doing steroids for a while.
Well, that's not probably the case. So let me.
Why?
Because he's already 26.
How old is he? He's done steroids.
I think he's 23. He's going to be 24, I think, later this year.
Well,
right. But that is the difference with there are three quarterbacks of the top guys.
Yes.
That are 5-6 year guys, right? So that's Nix, it's Penix, and it's Daniels, and then Caleb Williams, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy are all 2-3 years younger than those guys.
So when you look at Jaden Daniels and Drake May, which one of them looks more like a guy who's going to be quarterbacking a team, a playoff contending team, 3 years from now in the NFL?
I think Drake May has a higher ceiling. I think Jaden Daniels, you know what he is right now, and I think he's super talented. Super talented. My biggest issue with Jaden Daniels would be the way that his playing style puts him in a position where is he going to get hurt, and then is the frame going to hold up? And look, like it's not like the guy had a million injury issues in college, right? So it's not like you look at it and say, well, he was always hurt in college. But at 6'4", 210 pounds, with that build, with that running style, how is he going to hold up as an NFL player? And I think the biggest cautionary tale I've heard with him is RG3, is that like he runs like RG3, where RG3 had a little bit of an issue protecting himself and wasn't as good at getting down. And RG3, if you look at the way he was built, he's sort of built like a basketball player, right? Mm-hmm. Jaden Daniels is the same thing, whereas with Drake May, it's really freaking easy to look at him. And if you stand up next to him, I've stood up next to him, if you stand up next to him, it's like, God, this guy's a massive person to begin with, and he probably could gain like 20 pounds, So he looks like he could very easily carry 245 pounds,
Okay.
And that's why, like, I think the comparison with him, the one I like actually more than Justin Herbert is Josh Allen. And I don't think he's quite as big as Josh. He's not quite as, freak, not quite as much, not quite as athletic as Josh Allen, not quite as. His arm strength isn't quite at the same level. I think he's like Josh Allen with a step down on every one. And the reason I say that is because what I've heard on the tape, like people compare him to Herbert a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, Fred, you mentioned how Herbert and him had some of the same circumstances, right? Well, what happened with Herbert his last year in college was you didn't have a lot of bad plays, but you also didn't have a lot of spectacular plays. He's just sort of leveled off. With Drake May, it's sort of the opposite, where you had some bad plays, but you also had spectacular, which to me is a little bit more like Josh Allen.
In the same game, too.
This was my
All right, we got a break. But we will come back, and we'll have more from Bert Breer, talk about Stefon Diggs, the plans in Houston, what it means for Buffalo, so much more.
Sports Hub headlines.
Brad Marchand's
Hey, we're Tetcher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Hardy, you were asking Bert Breer from MMQB something before I rudely had to send us to break.
No, it's fine. It's just the size thing with Jaden Daniels and Drake May.
Yep.
And I understand the Drake May to Josh Allen comp, and you're not saying they're the same, but it's the closest thing to it. But and I look at Jaden Daniels, and that was my thing too. Looking at him in college, like, man, he looks slight. He looks small,
skinny,
right?
Yeah.
And if you're just looking at the numbers, he's an inch or two taller and about 10 pounds lighter than some other mobile quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Now, I know the 2 inches, that he has on them size-wise and the 10 pounds less, it's kind of a bad combination, but to be fair,
I
don't know that they're all that different, and I also think like the mobile quarterback thing.
So
Lamar's been hurt. Patrick Mahomes has been remarkably uninjured,
but he's not. But Mahomes isn't much of a runner,
and it's hard. It sometimes can be hard to predict.
He just doesn't seem to get caught.
I just think he's not. But Bert, he's not like a run first.
Who, Lamar?
No.
Mahomes.
Mahomes isn't run first. No.
Mahomes
is also a big person. Like Mahomes is like, if you get like. Mahomes isn't like 6'5", but Mahomes is a big, thick guy. Like Mahomes isn't like.
This guy's a little booty.
I don't look at Mahomes and say like, oh yeah, like he's skinny. No, not at all. I think the guys that now there are guys that have had this question coming into the league where they filled out. Like Lamar Jackson had this question 100% coming into the league. It was like, how is he going to hold up? He had that same skinny build. He filled out. Kyler Murray, same thing. Like Kyler Murray came into the league and man, he's little. And then, he was able to put on a lot of weight where now you look at him and he's sort of built like a running back, But those guys were both 3-year college guys. Or Murray was 4 years. But they were both younger than Jaden, And so like
they had time to put on size.
And that's part of the question, And I think it's a fair question to ask. Again, like I'm not saying Jaden Daniels can't put on weight, but when he's been in college for 5 years, when he's almost 24 years old, it's probably a little harder to project that than it is with somebody who's 21.
Yep.
All right, let's get to Stefon Diggs. The Bills traded him to the Texans for a second-round pick in 2025. The Texans are not picking up his option. They are going to, so it's 1 year. They traded a second-round pick for 1 year of Stefon Diggs. I'll start with the AFC East. The Bills have lost a lot of talent this year. What is the thinking in Buffalo, and how does this affect the AFC East?
Yeah, so like I think the window for them hasn't closed because I think as long as you've got a quarterback like Josh Allen, the window won't close. But for that particular group that they built the first era of Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, Josh Allen, that window's closed. And there were a lot of guys on that roster that were core guys that have been there forever that were in their 30s. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Mitch Morris, all those guys are gone. And so earlier in the offseason, about a month ago, they made this conscious decision. We're turning the page, and we are going to reset the roster this year, and we are going to reset the salary cap this year. And look, like I know a lot of people have been, running around, like why would they take on the dead cap? And like, does it make sense to have him off the roster at the same price they would have him on the roster? That dead cap was going to follow them no matter what. So whether they did it now, a year from now, 2 years from now, that was going to be an issue whenever they offloaded him. And I think for them it made sense. Let's just do this all at once. And instead of like tiering it and saying, okay, like we're going to do this gradually over the next few years, let's do this all at once. So when we go into 2025, we're going to have clean financials and a much younger team. And it's exactly what the Rams did last year. And if you look at what the Rams did, like they had made the decision, if we don't do this now because of all the dead cap that they'd built up, it's going to be a 2-year process coming out of it. So instead of stretching this out over a longer period of time, let's just do it all at once. Let's trade Jalen Ramsey. Let's get some guys off of our roster, and we will be clean financially coming out of this. And they were able to win through it, right? Like, and why? Because they drafted well. They got Puka Nacua, Byron Young, and Kobe Turner in the middle rounds of the draft. Those are three of the best rookies in the NFL. So that's cheap talent coming on your roster. They had a great year out of their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, and they coached their asses off, Sean McVay and that staff. So that's what's going to take for Buffalo now is they've got 10 picks in April. You got to draft really well. You got to coach really well if you're Sean McDermott. And then you got to get a great year out of your quarterback, which the Rams did last year.
So they're screwed because McDermott's their coach. Where's the power line in the AFC East now?
I still think I wouldn't rule Buffalo out because I do think that much of Josh Allen, and I do think under Joe Brady last year when they made that switch, he turned another corner. So if they draft well, I think, again, this is going to be about getting another receiver on their team, and this is a good draft to go and find one. But I mean, right now, if I had to pick it, I'd say the Jets are positioned the best.
All right, let's talk about the Jets because Fred, as you can imagine, is very fatalistic about this. But with Aaron Rodgers coming back, why can't the Jets win this division and go deep into the playoffs? They should
be able to. I mean, if you look at roster-wise, Miami is starting. If you kind of dig into the offseason Miami's had, right? So they cut Xavier Howard. They let Christian Wilkins go in free agency. The Dolphins are sort of bracing themselves for the big quarterback contract. So the makeup of their team is going to be different. They also are changing defensive coordinators for the third straight year. There's a lot of transition and a lot of unknown on Miami, and there's going to be a lot more on Tua to be the guy there, right? So I think that they need a great year out of Tua to be back even where they were last year. The Jets, everything's just set up for right now. And, even they lose Bryce Huff, so they bring in Hassan Reddick, who's been a really good player the last few years for both the Panthers and the Eagles. I look at their roster, and there's so much rising young talent on that roster. And, Fred, I don't need to tell you, but there are so many guys in that roster that are still ascending. Whether it's Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Bryce
Hall.
Bryce Hall, yeah. Sorry, I get my Bryces mixed up there. Or Brees Hall. Brees Hall. I look at their roster, and and there's a lot of the young rising talent there.
Yeah.
If their line holds up and Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, there's no reason they shouldn't be right there with. I mean, they were competitive last year for at least a stretch with a scarecrow at quarterback, right? Nothing at quarterback. So there's no reason why. I'm not saying they're going to be with Kansas City and Cincinnati, but there's no reason they shouldn't, at least compete to win the division and maybe go into the season as a favorite.
They'll compete for 5 weeks, and then everyone will.
Man, you're really, really down on them, huh?
I don't. Picking up old guys coming off injury in free agency isn't a super fun thing.
I think the tackle thing is that is really. If I'm them, I still take a tackle.
I would take a tackle too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly not taking Brock Evan Bowers. I'm not.
You see that a lot in a lot of mock drafts last week.
It's stupid.
Yeah,
I would no.
You never know. You never know how Woody could get his hands and stuff though. I will tell you, it worked out for him a couple years ago. But I was told it was 2 years ago that Woody Johnson didn't want to take. This was the Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner draft. They had 2 picks in the top 10, and there was word circulating around that Woody didn't want Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh taking another offensive lineman, and so does he get involved in this? And because what they need is a tackle, and yes, they signed Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, but can you really count on those two older guys to hold up?
They're going to need a guy who can play 6-7 games next season for them.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll be right back with more Bert Breer. We'll finish things up with Bert in just a moment.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Charlie Coyle. I've teamed with Wellpoint, formerly...
Hardy's gossip about Mac Jones on the driving range has got even Bert Breer talking, and he's.
I saw it. I can't remember if it was Instagram or Twitter. Whoever was doing the work for you guys. Yeah,
Graham.
On the gram. You're big on the gram, right, Fred?
Oh, I'm at Fred Toucher, influencer extraordinaire. Slide in my DMs. Wink, wink. Yes, I am on Instagram. It is.
I think your cat was a big social media star too at one point, right? Isn't that right?
Dog.
The dog humps the pillow.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the dog humping the pillow and looking me dead in the eye.
The dog hesitates in the middle and looks back as if to get Fred's approval.
He's like, well, no, he's like, look me in the eye. Look at what I'm doing.
And then finishes his job.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been clipped, so he didn't finish per se. But when he was done, he was done.
Did what he came to do.
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't done that in a really long time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I guess he finally realized he doesn't have nuts. So he's calming down a little bit, the guy. He's becoming a little bit more of a...
Except for the eating of your daughter's underwear.
He does that.
I would have been fine if you didn't bring that up, Wallach.
I could have said the actual word for underwear.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't say that.
I've been told that that's not the word anymore, that no one says that word. So you just say underwear now.
Okay.
That's what I've been told. All right, Bert, are you going to Detroit for the big draft?
No, I'm going to do what I normally do, which is stay here and just be in a place where I've got a good internet signal and my phone working. And, that's the most efficient way for me to do it. There's nothing for anybody at the actual draft. Did we talk about this last week?
Why do people go?
Well, we talked about this last week, right? Like where I think it's like, I could see like my kid. So my 9-year-old is into football. I could see him being like, if it was in Boston, oh yeah, let's go. And then you go and you're there for like 25 minutes and I'm like, yeah, this sucks. I'd rather watch it at home. You know what I mean? It feels like one of those sorts of events.
But Detroit is really embracing it. I guess there's all kinds of stuff going on right now, 3 weeks before the draft. They're not afraid to just turn their city over. It's not a bad thing, but they can just turn the city over to whoever.
Oh, I give them credit. They like. I feel like Detroit likes showing it's not as bad as you think.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like they're very big. All my family from there. It's like it's not 1991 here anymore. Sort of thing. You know?
I mean it's. I mean I was just there. It's pretty weird. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have the whole inside story of the golf gates with Mac Jones. It's Dedham Country Club.
No, we're not. We're not doing that.
Okay.
No, we're not. Can you? Thank you. Did you dump that? Thank you. We're not doing that.
How'd that happen? Wow, that was something else.
Just proves that Hardy was correct. That's all.
Yep.
Just proves it.
His sources were good.
I didn't know the guy was going to say it. I just thought he was going to. I thought it might have been funny. I thought he was going to have something funny to say.
Yeah.
I can't control the phone lines. What are you going to do? I mean, Golfgate has just gotten real serious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Put things on the gram.
I think that was kind of the point. And some people don't think it's serious at all. And they may be right.
Maybe the members were.
It was like an anecdotal thing. It was just kind of it was like a funny thing. You wonder what these guys are doing in their off time. And sure, they're playing golf. And
so the members were intimidated by his rap game.
That was a huge component of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I don't think it's anything more than that.
No, it's not scandalous.
No, I think you're okay. I think that you can sleep, you can rest your head at night without knowing you haven't just besmirched the character of Mac Jones to any real degree.
Do you remember the Red Sox golf gate?
Oh yeah, Josh Beckett.
Yes.
Is it Beckett? Yes. You were all over that
when that one broke. And I think it was Pete Abraham who was like one of the first to come out and say like, "Oh yeah, huge story. A couple of guys on their day off went and did something leisurely. I don't see what there is to see here." Like, I don't know, maybe because both of them were supposed to be too injured to pitch, but they're out there playing 27 holes.
Yeah.
And while they had to call up some kid from, like AAA to come out and get a spot start instead. And both of these guys, it was Buchholz and Beckett. Neither one of them
That was
Good
the
pitch,
chicken.
but man, they could swing the hell out of the golf clubs for like 6 hours.
That was
one
the
day.
chicken and beer year, right?
Was that 2011?
I think that would.
We had just
I feel
started. I know that.
I feel like that was tied to the chicken and beer thing.
It was the same people.
It was an anecdote, right? Like
it might have been the year before chicken and beer. It might have been.
Yeah, it was
Harbinger.
early on in the station, so that's
so
right
it was an
around
early
10,
sign.
11.
It was an early sign that chicken and beer could be coming.
Yes, I believe so. But John's right. It was early at the station. But I'll tell you, those beat writers can't be quick enough to shake their head at everything and go, "Oh no,
They're white
that's
knight.
nothing."
Yeah,
that's
white
not,
knighting.
or no, but like I would have heard about it, or like I'm in the clubhouse. Well, all right.
What does Hardy know? What can Hardy possibly
that's
know?
the way
about
like
it?
It's the same
baseball
thing
writers
about-
are, because they spend so much time standing around the clubhouse that they're very protective of.
Yeah, like when Eckersley got yelled at on the plane, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I heard that he did like Pedroia was part of it." Like I just heard it. Like I don't know, what do I know? But I heard from a guy who's friends with Eckersley that's what happened. And then like the ugly guy from EEI was yelling at me, like yelling at me and calling me ugly, which I never forget. Rob Bradford, he was calling me ugly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not handsome, but Jesus Christ, don't compare yourself to me. You're much uglier than me.
It was 2000.
An old-fashioned ugly off.
Oh,
Yep, it was. Oh yeah, it was an ugly off.
This doesn't
It was-
happen
it was
in
a
NFL
show.
press boxes?
Yeah, it
No?
was a standoff.
It was a year after Chicken and Beer. It was 2012.
Okay. I knew it was.
Oh,
in there.
much better season.
Was that Bobby Valentine?
That was the Bobby Valentine year.
No, when they played. But you think the
You
golf?
wish you had Bobby Valentine back now, though.
Oh, no, I don't.
He would give the season some juice.
How fortuitous?
The season, the baseball's got no juice now. But Bobby Valentine would at least give you some juice.
How fortuitous was it to Hardy to go like, I just won free things, so I'm going to have a Sunday golf show, and just because I won free things, but in the course of my golf show
Not
work, I'm going to
accurate.
uncover all these
two big stories,
2 scandals.
Yeah.
And then one that Peter Abraham said, no.
Hardy scoops over here.
Something called Love of the Game, Fred, which maybe you don't know anything about.
I wish
Maybe
I
you're
loved it.
incapable of loving anything. I'm not even sure, other than your own children and pets.
Well,
I don't know
thank
if
you.
I don't think that you can.
This isn't
fully-
exactly an indictment of the man at the moment.
That might actually be true.
Yeah, I don't know that you're capable
Take out the pets.
of joy. Is it joy? Is maybe what you're incapable
You've
of.
never wondered if you were capable of joy? Do you even like the definition of joy? It's hard to even define what joy is.
I know it when I feel it, and I feel it about a practical
'Cause
hourly basis.
Not pleasure. Not
Joy.
pleasure like you get from a birdie or an eagle.
Or going to an Ohio State home game.
Yeah.
One or the other.
That's
But
just
Bert knows about joy.
that's pleasure. That's not joy. Come on. Now
That is-
that's pleasure.
Maybe that was the Ohio State Notre Dame game he felt pleasure.
Pleasure is having
was
a
the Michigan game.
is
that's for
having
sure.
a piece of chocolate.
I wasn't going to
Joy.
bring that up for the record.
Hey,
All right.
Bert, have a joyful and blessed weekend.
Great to
We're
see you.
very late.
Good to see you guys.
No commercials here, just the headlines.
WBC Bus from the Town Fair Tire Studio, the home of the Bruins, Patriots, Revs, and Celtics.
Come on, Max, step back. 3 is good.
Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub, the Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Bruins finished up their 6-game road trip with a record of 4-2 thanks to a 4-1 win over Carolina last night. Brad Marchand snapped the 10-game scoreless streak with his 400th career goal in this one and said it was the little things that got the job done.
You know, the biggest thing I think was winning board battles. A lot of them came from guys getting a puck off a wall on a pinch and making a play under pressure. You know, in that type of system, if you can do that and catch a guy going the wrong way, take advantage of it, and we did that.
David Pastrnak added his 47th goal of the season as well. Bruins still 4 points up on Florida for first place with 5 to go, and they host the Panthers tomorrow afternoon. Celtics play Sacramento at the Garden tonight. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jaylen Brown and Derek White are questionable after rehabbing his sore shoulder for the last couple of months. The Knicks' Julius Randle will undergo season-ending surgery. Patriots have the 3rd overall pick in the draft. They'll be hosting 2 of the guys that could go in that spot in the next few days. North Carolina quarterback Drake May is due in today, and Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels will reportedly come to town on Monday. And the Red Sox will pitch Cutter Crawford tonight as they open up a 3-game road series against the Angels out in Anaheim. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Rodenheiser Home Services, your trusted local expert for all your plumbing needs, from bathroom and kitchen fixtures to leaking pipes, water heaters, and more. Visit Rodenheiser.com to schedule today. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Tatum has been spectacular.
This is Jason Tatum.
Right corner against Embiid. Tatum for a 50-piece.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
We're back with Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Isn't it interesting? Bert and I were asking Hardy, who broke this huge Mac Jones story that he was hitting balls in a club he didn't belong to. I just think it was funny because I read the Instagram comments because Nick made a good video about it, and I liked the video because I'm barely in it. That I'll share all of them. If I'm not in it, I'll share it. And I don't look terrible in the video, because it only goes to me for a split second. This is how I review videos, and I'm like, okay. Because you never know who's looking at your profile. And so Hardy said that Mac Jones had been, and so this guy called and he goes, I have all the information, so I took the call. I thought it might be funny, and then he said the name of the club, and Hardy didn't want the name of the club, so Bert and I were asking why he didn't want the name of the club. He's like, I didn't want to blow up this guy's spot. So he's like, okay. And then we started talking about it, and then it's like, it's funny because everyone has their own barometer of like what they'll say. Like we all like know stuff, but like I'm not gonna blow up someone's spot that was doing something they paid for and this and that. Like there's like it's hard to explain like where the line is, and like, but we all have our line, and it's interesting. It's interesting where other people's lines are. So if you belong to my country club and I see you doing something, I assure you I will not. I'll knock on you because I figured you're paying and this is like your haven. It's like if I went into your house and said I went into their house.
This has nothing to do with like the sanctity of a golf course.
No.
That's
not what I'm saying.
No, well, what I'm saying is like, no, I heard it from a couple of different people, and I'd rather not do anything to, reveal who told me what by virtue of saying what club it took place at. And if you want to find out, it's easy enough to find out, but I'm not going to be the one to tell you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and so it was a perfectly acceptable explanation.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've told you for a long time is James Corden is a piece of garbage. What is it, John, about me, with all my faults, that I have an incredible radar for who sucks? It is, I guess if you throw enough of it against the wall, something's going to stick.
James Corden! Musical theater. That's the tipping point, I think.
Well, I mean, he's like, you could tell, I can tell that he has very little self-esteem, but he's compensating for that.
Wait, James Corden has a wife?
I mean, fair question, but I mean, he has been in Cats.
I'm not a buster for Jones. I'm not skin and bones. In fact, I'm remarkably fat.
So he does this, and then when James Stewart calls him fat, not James Stewart from here, Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart. Hey,
that guy in Cats was fat.
Hey, Roman Reigns played at Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
I just found that out. When Patrick Stewart calls him fat, like he gets all like upset and like glares at him at this award show and goes like, "You're drunk." It's like, yeah, it's an award show, you fat prick. And so James Corden was on Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel has to get guests, and James Corden's one of them. And so here's James Corden. Mike Lockhart said he was on Jimmy Kimmel. Here's what he did.
No one believes that I wasn't fired.
No one believes so. I'm married. Ha ha, me. Hello, darling. I love your boobies and everything else.
All your lady parts.
I met you during intermission of Fiddler on the Roof. I was crying.
James Corden played Belle.
And I said, matchmaker, find me a beard.
No one believes that I wasn't fired. I'll be in a pub or something, and people will be like, yeah, no, well, my son, they'll be like, so why'd you come back? And I'll be like, well, because Max was, finished 6th grade, and we really wanted him to have a relationship with his grandparents, and we were just really thought, so they were like, then people will honestly be like, you don't have to give me that it's fine, mate.
Yeah, like all the times he's at the pub.
Well, yeah, just hanging with the boys, throwing some darts, kicking back a few pints.
Every time he's in a musical theater group.
Not a Buster Jones.
I'm at the pub, and I'm hanging with my mates. And we're doing poppers.
I have 8 or 9 clubs, for I'm the St. James's Street.
I like when I'm at the pub. Get out of here.
And I do amyl nitrate.
When I'm at the pub with, my blokes, talking about soccer and what have you, saying, and then bare knuckle fighting, remove your shorts or I will not engage you in this confrontation. Oh, I've fallen. Don't lay atop me and beat me. When I'm at the pub and we're talking about women in their private parts and all the fun that we have with their private parts when you do things with them, they're not outies, they're innies. And it's an exploration of feeling and moistures and things. They have hanging boobies instead of rock hard pub pecs.
Why is that? You got fired because nobody thinks that you would ever leave what is, let's be honest, a cushy existence.
Can't you get a letter from CBS saying that you were not fired, that you left on your own free will?
They don't know what CBS is.
Oh.
So...
Yeah, all the common folk he's with. He's out there after the steel plant gets out, having beers at the pub.
Also,
they don't know. He's this guy who's musical theater. He's out there he's rubbing elbows with the working class. Do you know how quickly he'd get his ass kicked anywhere? It'd be almost cruel. It would be like putting a baby in a lion's den. You don't stand a chance.
And by the way, you're not just going to need a letter saying you weren't fired. You're also going to need a letter explaining there's a difference between not being fired and not necessarily being asked to come back and not actually, begging the person to return either. There's all kinds of gray areas when someone leaves a job. It doesn't have to be so cut and dry.
You're saying they thought that maybe the idea that he was famous completely for having other people sing their own songs in a car was somehow they thought that maybe the guild was coming off the lily?
We're hearing that James Corden may be contemplating a trip back to London so his children can be close to their grandparents. Thank God. Whatever you do, don't stop him. Don't say anything to him. If he's thinking about quitting, just let him quit.
They'll go, well, that's not a real thing.
Yeah.
And then I have to tell them what the show was, and then they'll go, hang on, it was on at 12:30 at night. That's a ridiculous time to put a TV show on.
Yeah, he's just having a lot of fun in a pretend land. You know where he's at.
James Corden played Belle.
Oh, I'm just at the football park kicking balls.
I'm remarkably bad.
Talking about, the steel mill. How hot is it in the steel mill? I can't keep these clothes. They're suffocating me. What a long day you had at the steel mill. And you don't want to go home to that wife of yours. She's just going to yell. You want to it's hot in here, isn't it? Ew. What do you do for a living? I work at the steel mill in Birmingham. What do you do? Well, I played Buster for Jones in Cats.
Not a Buster.
Now put your fanny down and let's talk. I have the newest issue of Variety. Would you like a page?
Variety, what's that?
Well, it's just the biggest industry magazine there is.
Like industrial stuff, like steel mills and whatnot?
No, it's about singing and dancing and pretending and carrying on.
I don't go out for any of that.
Yes, I was a chat host, and I would put people in cars, and we'd sing. Who'd you have in the car? Oh, well, we would have Ariana Grande. And, Ariana Grande. Yes! Oh, and she's delightful. People say things about her, but just not true.
But I heard you got fired, isn't it?
No! I was not allowed the freedom to sing as much as I would have cared for.
Not a Buster Jones. I'm not skin and bones. In fact, I'm remarkably...
I know. So can you show me something on YouTube? Yes! This is where I and a cast of characters ran into the streets of LA and impromptu put on a dance routine.
What'd you do that for, then?
The love of theater and dance! Look at the faces of the shocked locals as we block traffic and sing.
Right. Well, I've got to be getting on now.
No. Give the pill a chance to take hold. You will sit for 10 more minutes, and then you won't have your wits about you.
Then I'll take you home.
No, how dare you, John.
I've got to be getting home to my wife.
Oh, not so fast.
Aren't you married, then?
Yes!
What's her name?
I forget, it slipped my mind. Lady friend. All right, very good. When we come back, who is the worst owner in sports? Well, we definitely know. It's almost a sociopathic thing. We'll have that for you in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on... book right now. Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, and the Oakland A's, who the Red Sox played, you might not know that, and who made 5 errors in 3 innings.
This, by the way, sounds a little bit like getting the boat ready in summer rental. I'm gonna turn it around. You know, they're fixing up the restaurant there, the Barnacle, for the big race.
Yes.
Against the Incisor, Richard Crenna. Second mention of him on the show this morning. What were you saying, baseball?
He was also in Rambo?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. Summer rental. Who's
John Candy vehicle.
Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, that's one of those depressing movies.
That's The Great Outdoors. Sorry. Wrong one.
Summer rental is another one of those depressing movies, like the John Cusack one in Cape Cod. That's sneaky depressing.
Also, yeah, an underlying subplot of John Candy's wife having an affair with John Larroquette, which really doesn't get explored. But
she has the affair?
They go to the movies together, and then they go water skiing, and John Candy is rehabbing his broken leg and then fixing up the Barnacle, and then John Larroquette is just sitting there with his son and Chet Ripley's dog, not Chet Ripley, what's his name? Whatever. And it is in Summer Rental, sitting there with their family dog during the yacht race. And I would like to see the director's cut, to see that get explored a little bit more.
And you guys think that movie's funny and not sad?
Summer Rental? It has its moments where I think it's funny, yes. I think the character of Yorku is one of the more underrated characters from 80s films.
Okay. All right.
Baseball.
The Oakland A's are a team that the Red Sox have played. So this is the deal, is that the Oakland A's are moving apparently to Las Vegas. Their owner does not care about the team at all. They were possums, literally possums, in the visiting play-by-play guy's booth, and so they had to move out of it. There's been sewage leaks. If you know the history of this organization, it's a joke anyway. They started in Philadelphia. They were there for years and years and years. Then they moved to Kansas City. Then they moved to Oakland. Now they're moving to Sacramento to a minor league AAA park.
Right.
And the AAA park, they'll play there for not 1, not 2, but 3 years, and not even this year. So the people of Oakland have to sit there, and they're going to, well, not even the people of Oakland, they're not going to go, but the players and Major League Baseball as an entity now is going to have a stadium that's just going to get knocked down after the season. So there's going to be no even basic sanitary things being done, nothing to upkeep, nothing. I mean, there's no incentive to do anything because no one's going. The team is awful. So Major League Baseball has that blight. Then Major League Baseball has got a team playing in some in effing Sacramento for one thing, and also has them playing in a AAA ballpark. If you're an owner of a team, there's nothing. Almost nothing you can do to lose the power of running that team. Because the owners don't want that. The owners don't want you. They don't want to set a precedent where you can get rid of other owners. They just won't do it. So guys like Dan Snyder can go around for decades just acting like complete lunatics until they're kindly asked, could you please sell the team for billions of profit? So this is the jackass owner of the Oakland A's.
John Fisher.
The worst owner in all of sports. And you would think if you had the money and then you were sitting on that kind of money that you would want people to at least not hate you. You have more money than you could ever do with, right? You would just think that I own this baseball team. At least you would think that you like baseball, that you have a competitive streak, and that you want people to not hate you. So wouldn't you try to make this thing, which is really a public trust, it's an investment, but it's really a part of the community. It existed before you. It's going to exist after you. It's a part of the community.
It's not like you're working hard for the money to come in either. It's not like you're busting your ass climbing hand over fist to get dollars. There's network TV money that comes in. There are a lot, and you're not paying anything for
Well, that's
payroll.
why they have to stay in Sacramento, I guess, is because they can't move to like Nashville or something, is because of the local. That might be because of the local TV deal. So, but the thing is that, like, if Major League Baseball doesn't have us, under the impression that we're a part of this kind of, like, they represent our city, then they got nothing. Like, without the history of Fenway Park and the history of the Red Sox and being passed down generation to generation, there's nothing. It just ceased to exist. These teams have only been around for 100 years. Human history goes back many more than that. Like, we will live in a society where baseball is not played. I mean, like, it will happen. Now, we as individuals won't live in it, but our ancestors, people that share our energy, will certainly live in that world. So here is the owner of the Oakland A's, sitting in Sacramento, talking about the glorious move to the AAA park.
I just want to say how excited I am to be here in West Sacramento, celebrating a momentous day for this community and a momentous day for our 123-year-old franchise. And at the River Cats, working with you guys has been a dream for our guys as well.
No, it hasn't. It's a nightmare. Everyone knows it's not. Shut up. Like, what an a-hole. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. Like, no one's happy about this, you dork. Like, you strong-armed the city. They said no, and now you're moving it. And by the way, you're moving it, and you're an incompetent, and you're going to fail in Vegas. No one wants you there. Hardy lived there and says it won't work. The other guy I know that lives in Vegas now and does sports says it's going to be an unmitigated disaster. I like their theory more than yours. Like, and then have you heard the pros for it? Like, ooh, it's going to be like this space-age stadium. F you. I'm going to fly 6 hours to go watch a baseball game in July in the desert.
It's 110 degrees.
Get out of here. It's not. I got news for you. It's not a destination, stupid. Like, people aren't going to come out there in the summer to see a baseball game.
People will go out for a football game. I think people will go out for a hockey game because it's.
The city embraced the hockey team. It's a big enough city for a hockey team. Like, they have enough people to fill that arena. And it was the first one there. It was a market that was dying for professional sports. They got there. They planted their flag. People loved it. Congratulations, Golden Knights. The NFL is going to work wherever you put it. The NFL, except for Los Angeles. But the NFL is going to work anywhere you put it but Los Angeles. So people are going to go to Vegas. People would go to the moon to see an NFL game. So, I mean, it's in Buffalo, for Christ's sakes. They're building a new stadium across the street from the old one in that neighborhood in Buffalo. I mean, you know that because drunken people are throwing themselves in the hole they're digging.
A couple other things that both those teams had going for them, Fred. Number one, you nailed it with the Golden Knights being the ones to plant their flag. It's a brand new team. It's a brand new thing. We're going to do this.
It's our team.
And they were good right away.
That helps.
The Raiders already had a huge fan base in Las Vegas. So if you weren't counting on people flying in to see the visiting team, which they do, you're going to have people going to those games anyway. The Raiders were already a very popular team in Vegas and in L.A. and that part of the country. The Oakland A's? Who cares about the Oakland A's?
Also, I'm not positive that how big the Raiders are going to be like 10 years from now, but that remains to be seen. There is a chance they could still be drawing people in. I don't know if it's going to be as big a sensation as it is now. I mean, think of Shake Shack. I mean, there used to be lines around the block. Now you can get into Shake Shack, do whatever
Biggest
you want.
fan base the Raiders have is in Los Angeles.
Well, that was what everybody joked about, how when both the Rams and Chargers were moving there at the same time, Chargers was like, oh, are they going to be the second most popular team?
No,
they're going to be third.
Yeah.
And the Rams will be second, and the Raiders will still be first.
Yeah.
And the thing is that at least the Kroenke, the horrible Rams owner, at least was moving to L.A. because it's the second largest media market. He's not moving to Vegas to go. And the A's are a terrible franchise anyway, but here you go. Here's more of this guy pretending this is a good thing.
I want to thank Mayor Guerrero, who and the whole West Sacramento community.
Represent East Sacramento, not so much.
Right.
East Sacramento and North and South Sacramento have really spit the bit.
And I just want to say we're We're excited to be here for the next 3 years, playing in this beautiful ballpark, but also being able to watch some of the greatest players in baseball, Aaron Judge and others, launch home runs out of this.
What a fan of the game. I mean, this guy, you can tell, is a student of the game.
What?
This moron, real with what's a baseball player?
Yeah.
Aaron Judge, and then he can't think of anyone else.
Whether they be athletics players or Aaron Judge and others launch home runs out of this
Home runs.
most intimate ballpark in Major League Baseball.
I like home runs and things, and Aaron Judge. He can't think of one baseball player.
Say it with me. Shohei Ohtani.
Or how about people on your team?
I know. That's the thing. He left everybody on his roster off.
I would have named everybody on the roster. I would have named the AAA team. Yeah. I mean, this guy doesn't even like baseball.
He's moving to a AAA ballpark of another franchise.
Right. And when
not even his AAA
and when they
team.
write his obituary, when they write his obituary in Oakland, when it's in the Oakland paper, it's going to be a celebration that he's dead. This is what the guy has bought himself. Seriously. Like think about it. Like your legacy. Like his legacy sucks now.
His legacy isn't even going to be. You honestly think this team is actually going to wind up in Las Vegas at any point? No, they'll probably stay where they are now.
I mean, Rob Manfred, for all the good he did last year with the rule changes, this is embarrassing.
Aaron Judge and others launch home runs out of this very intimate, the most intimate ballpark in all of Major League Baseball for the next 3 years.
Yeah, congratulations. It's the smallest baseball park. You're playing in a small park.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
No seats beyond the wall.
To a place where no one goes. Sacramento. No one. Like no one outside. Maybe in I know it's the capital of California. Maybe in California, commerce is done there. What do I know? But I'll never go to Sacramento in my life. I'll never go there. And I won't be on my deathbed going, Sacramento.
Yeah.
Like my son comes up to me, Dad, I love you so much. Do you have before you leave, anything to tell me? Go to Sacramento.
Bucket list.
Go. Don't be like your father. Go to Sacramento. The most intimate of ball. I mean, this guy is he's not even a good salesman. Baseball players like Aaron Judge, and they'll hit homers. Big baseball owner. Could have bought anything. Could have done anything. Could have given all the money to the blind. And then, you know what? When he died, the people in the blind community would have been like, this is like a hero of ours. His money led to these technologies that have helped the blind people so much. But no, he's going to be this snake prick that moved our team, this horrible team. Go ahead.
There was a reason, too, that Sacramento wanted him, because they want a Major League Baseball team. The owner of the Sacramento Kings owns this particular baseball team, owns this AAA team in Sacramento. They talked to him yesterday, and he was saying, yeah, I mean, we kind of see this as a dry run. If we can do this over the next 3 years, we think we can keep this team.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. If you got rid of 17 other cities that exist, maybe Sacramento gets one.
And props to Ryan, who just emailed this to me. Does everyone already know this, that the Oakland A's minor league team, their AAA team, is in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah,
they could have played in Vegas.
The Las Vegas Aviators in Summerlin.
Well, there was talk of why don't they play in the Vegas. I guess the Vegas minor league park is beautiful, too. I guess it's like this incredible stadium. It's always winning these stadium awards. There was talk of them playing there. There was talk, John, if you want to talk about where the team could end up, why don't you play in Nashville for half the games?
They've been ready for the last 3 years.
I would imagine Nashville this year, you couldn't do it, but certainly next year. I mean, it's a West Coast team. Travel would be a hassle, but I think it could own. The reason they went to Sacramento has to be the television contract. I have to imagine it's the television contract.
By the way, speaking of the TV contract, the West Coast version of NBC Sports Boston, NBC Sports out in Oakland, was saying the way that the AAA team and the Oakland A's the A's will coexist over the next 3 years. They may move the Sacramento team out of there for a while. And you know where they're going to play? The Oakland Coliseum. They're going to play games at the Oakland Coliseum while the A's play in their ballpark.
It's just a mess and a disaster, and they let this guy go for too long. I mean, the guy could build 5 stadiums if he wanted to. He could get financing and build 5 baseball parks if he wanted to. But I mean, it's really a shame. It's really a shame, and it's just what you want your legacy to be. It's just fascinating to me, like these billionaires would buy something with the only intention of pissing off as many people as possible. Like, you could do, again, anything with that money. You could, anything to make money. Once you have $1 billion, guess what? You're not losing it. Like, you could put it in a savings account and get 1% interest on it and make enough money.
5 generations of people can live off of that.
Oh, John, I mean, let's be honest. Unless there's another, unless an asteroid hits the Earth or there's another COVID that lasts for an asteroid.
Oh, no. What have you heard?
When I was a kid, I went to this place that had a box that taught me how to fight it. Not the best graphics.
When I was a kid, I was afraid Skylab was going to fall on me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was that was a thing.
Well, John was afraid that the moon was made of cheese.
He was afraid Sputnik was going to re-enter the atmosphere.
He was afraid he was going to fall off the Earth. He was afraid he was going to walk off of it.
That's right. We thought the world was flat back in my day.
He didn't know that he was the sun god was very angry. He thought that Tyrannosaurus was going to eat him. He's old, I'm saying.
That's when the asteroid hit and everything changed.
When I worked in Atlanta, we used to make fun of Jimmy Barron, this guy I did the show with, for being old. And I'm like 7 years older than he was when we used to make fun of him for being old.
Oh, yeah.
So my thing is to this, like...
That's your Wilford Brimley moment.
Like, people in your 20s...
That's right.
It comes fast. Yes. The people you're making fun of now, you become very quickly.
Yep.
So hang on to something other than your age, because you can only go so far with that. That ends. All right, here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
Bruins won their 3rd in a row last night, 4-1 over the Carolina Hurricanes down in North Carolina. David Pastrnak, a goal and an assist. Brad Marchand, career goal number 400. Bruins will host the Florida Panthers tomorrow afternoon. Celtics will host Sacramento tonight. Brandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5, the Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Patriots will reportedly host quarterback Drake May in Foxborough today. Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels is due in on Monday, and the Red Sox had last night off. They will visit the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim tonight. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by WellPoint, formerly Unicare. They've teamed with Charlie Coyle for First Responder Fridays. So do something kind today to thank our amazing first responders for keeping our community safe. Thank you. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9 o'clock.
Jones.
Not a
I'm Buster Jones. I'm not skin and bones. In fact, I'm remarkably fat. I don't haunt pubs. I have 8 or 9 clubs. For I'm the St. James's Street cat.
He was at the pub just having pints with the fellas, with the lads. Then they went and played rugby. It was a whole situation.
I don't want to, blow up the email segment, but seeing how you brought it up, I got an email here from Mike who said, listening to the broadcast, you guys started playing Buster Jones. First off, I thought we were past this. Second, I'm going to be humming that for the next 3 days, which I don't like none too much. Second, the name of the movie is Cats, and you know what cats do to birds, right? If I'm Wallach, I'll go right to HR to discuss your insensitivity and your willingness to create a hostile work environment. Be better, Hardy. Wallach deserves better.
All right, I like this email too. Hey, fellas, I think you undersold just how much of a disaster Corden was for CBS. Not only was that unfunny piece of garbage so bad that he got fired, but they eliminated the entire show brand because of him. This is a brand that has been on television since the Clinton administration. It predates Google, Facebook, Napster, even effing Ask Jeeves. And CBS decided that it had become so worthless that they'd be better off killing the brand rather than finding a new host. All because that unfunny piece of garbage insisted on violating our televisions every night. Anyway, love you guys. So there you go. Now that you brought up emails.
Either that or they felt they had reached, the highest of highs and they couldn't possibly begin to match what James Corden brought to that time slot. So that's why they discontinued.
Yeah. It's just the television and in radio in some ways just don't react properly. So you have a late night show and the viewers aren't what they used to be because of, split in how people consume things. So you go, well, people like YouTube. So let's make a show with a host whose only redeeming quality is he has some gimmick that gets views on YouTube. Well, yeah, but then you're neglecting, that's 5 minutes 4 times a month. And you're neglecting the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of broadcasting that go on before then. Wouldn't that be a nice bonus if something went viral rather than just insisting that something go viral? That's the thing, is that this radio station makes a lot of money, but this radio station costs a lot of money, I would imagine, to maintain. But there's a correlation there. Is that if you find and develop and pay quality talent, you will reap rewards. If you go, oh no, the money's down, COVID, let's just get rid of a bunch of people, then that's a short-term solution that begets a long-term problem. Because I got news for you. If you had really talented people on all the morning shows all over the country, people would be making a lot of money. But you got to develop and pay that talent. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. Or you'll be playing AAA game. You'll be playing your games at a AAA stadium where superstars like Aaron Jones will be hitting homers. Aaron Jones.
Shohei Tatani. He's a ball player, right?
She was a dancer.
Oh.
I was Shohei your toddies.
I was looking up the ballpark online. They have Home Run Hill out in right.
Oh, what a major league thing.
Well, you could apparently
there are no seats out there, Fred.
No, it's literally a grassy knoll. It looks like a place where Lee Harvey Oswald or maybe someone else.
It's Oswald's stoop.
Yeah, he was the patsy. It's where the real shooter was. But you can take lawn chairs out there. You can watch the game from out there.
Which screams Major League Baseball. But, maybe they should let people stand in right field at Fenway like they used to. Just have people stand in the air. Ever see the old footage of Fenway and the Polo Grounds when people are just standing in the outfield? You could miss.
So
there was
far
a rope.
away.
There was a rope. There literally was a rope. It was a dead ball.
That's 100 years ago. Yes,
and there was
a rope. No, I've seen those pictures. Yeah, it's just funny. Well, baseball's been around for 100 years. Yeah, but people have been around for a lot longer than that. A lot of stuff dies. If you picked up the New York Republican from 1910 and you open the sports page, it's going to be horse racing and boxing.
Like, when was the last time anyone cared about either of those things? Like, you're really pretty convinced that you're going to be a big deal for a long time. I hope you are. I love the game, but you're really playing loose and fast with this thing. Letting them play on Home Run Hill they don't even have a stadium, and they're put in a stadium where no one wants it. The A's are a unmitigated disaster, and the owners just won't do anything about it because they're so afraid that if they do it to someone, someone's going to do it to them. Because if you look too closely, I'm sure they've all, aired in some way or another.
Yeah, it'll get to a tipping point. I mean, Ballmer got to a tipping point. Dan Snyder got to a tipping point. I'm not saying this guy is.
You mean the guy Ballmer took over for, not Ballmer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The guy Ballmer took over.
I don't want Ballmer suing us.
Sorry. No,
he's a big fan of suing radio. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want to get in front of that train.
But the Clippers let a racist lunatic run that team for and not racist in like he casually said the N-word, racist in like he was a slumlord that actively, to the detriment of the race, stopped African Americans from moving into his buildings.
Sterling is his name.
Yes.
But
they let that go for decades. Remember, was it Elgin Baylor? Who was the guy that they always had at the draft, at the lottery?
It might have been Baylor for the Clippers.
Yeah, it was Elgin Baylor, and they just he's like, put Baylor, and like every year, Elgin Baylor had to sit there at the lottery.
He's got AIDS.
No, it's Sterling.
When he had those AIDS.
And then he had that wife with that like incredible body, but her face hachi-machi.
Well, I think he has HIV. He doesn't actually have full-blown AIDS. But
V. Stiviani, correct?
AIDS.
That was the girlfriend that recorded the conversation.
Yeah, you could tell his sight was not so great because I imagine to the touch, Viv Stiviani was a very attractive woman, but to the looks, hachi-machi.
So whether it's NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, what's the reluctance to push back on some of these owners and try and get them out? Are they afraid they have such deep pockets that they can tie the league up in the front offices in court for so long and league offices that they just don't want to go through the hassle of trying to remove them?
I'm sure it's that, but I also think it's like I don't want to set a precedent where we're getting rid of each other.
That's the other thing.
It's the other owners.
Fred's point is all the owners have skeletons in their closet, and if you go at this one guy and force him out, then who's to stop it from happening to them?
Not even like they've done something terrible, right? But they've cut a corner here, or someone involved with their multi-layered corporation has done something at some
Big
time.
business guys, billionaires, whatever they've done to earn that money, unless they inherited it, I'm sure there were some corners that were cut.
And also, you're in the figurehead for so many people, right? So someone beneath you has obviously done something, and then that ultimately lands with you, and it gets to be messy. They just would rather probably not deal with it. But John, Hardy, you're also probably right. A billionaire who doesn't want to leave can dig his heels in and really screw the sport up for a long time. But I don't know how much worse it could be than this.
Yeah.
I mean, Vegas doesn't want him, which is a bad look for baseball anyway. Like, just the PR of that, the notion of that Oakland doesn't want you. You're going to a godforsaken Sacramento now. And then you're with the hopes of going to a place that doesn't even want you, that won't support the team.
The sad part is Oakland, a major media market, there are a lot of people that want them there. The owner doesn't want to be there.
Not anymore. And the owner could have built a stadium. And if they were going to move from Oakland, it's fine. It's not like the A's are synonymous with Oakland. The A's have been all over the map. They've been literally all over the country. They've been in the Midwest, the East Coast, here in the West Coast. But move them wherever you want, but I mean, Jesus, don't have this season. You can't have a season in a park that's got possums and sewage leaking out of it, with a team that makes 5 errors in 3 innings, and then have a season of that for your product, and have an owner that just is so weird to me. Like, don't you ever think of your legacy? Like, wouldn't you think of your legacy at that point?
If you have all the money that you need, yes. What else is there to think about?
Yeah, you would have time to ponder the greater things in life.
Of course.
So I would just be much more concerned about my legacy. And I'm a scumbag.
When he had those AIDS.
I'm no Sterling. No. All right. We'll be back. Joe Sullivan will join us. The Final Four, you know that. is this weekend.
Oh, the women.
And the men's
women.
one. Woke. We're the best. All right, we'll be right back.
You're listening to Touch.
Bruins went up 3-0 in the first period and coasted to a 4-1 win over Carolina last night. Jim Montgomery's team finished off their 6-game road trip with 3 straight victories.
Really pleased with tonight's win. A team that was 8-1-1 and that's been playing really well. I thought in the first period we executed really well, caught them on some odd man rushes and made some high-end plays led by our captain and then, our leading goal scorer.
Speaking of the captain, Brad Marchand scored his 400th career goal in the win. Jeremy Swayman added 28 saves in net. Florida beat Ottawa last night 6-0 as well, so the Bruins division lead remains at 4 points. Both teams have 5 games left, and they will face each other at TD Garden tomorrow. Celtics have 6 games left. They've already clinched home court throughout the NBA playoffs. They host Sacramento tonight. Brandy and Max had the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jaylen Brown and Derek White are listed as questionable. Patriots will host North Carolina quarterback Drake May today. Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner, due in on Monday. Patriots have the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft in a little less than 3 weeks. Red Sox had last night off. They continue their road trip in Anaheim tonight. And the Oakland A's announced yesterday they're going to be playing games in Sacramento for the next 3 seasons with the team option for a 4th year as they wait for a new ballpark to be built in Las Vegas. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Service Credit Union. They've teamed with Charlie McAvoy to defend New England's heroes. They're raising $2,000 or $200,000 rather to help cover cancer screens for Mass and New Hampshire firefighters and heart screens for Mass and New Hampshire police officers. Get details at servicecu.org/73. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
It's not just the games. It's the preseason, the postseason, the drafts, the trades, front office drama, the locker room banter, and you talking all about
blah, 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 blah.
On Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Is elongating?
Weekday morning.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Let's roll the dice.
Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Joe Sullivan is supposed to join us, but he's big-timing us. He was the sports editor of the Boston Globe. He was very supportive of yours truly when yours truly was on very thin ice with the move to the Sports Hub. He reached out to me and he said, I think you know a lot more about sports than you're giving yourself credit for, which may or may not be true. But nonetheless, the fact that he had said that to me meant volumes.
Which is weird because I remember at the time you going on the air on BCN and saying, I know everything there is to know about sports. So I don't know why he would feel the need to tell you that you knew more than you thought you did because you thought you knew everything.
Maybe he thought that was just boasting, just boasting to cover up like I was. The emperor had no clothes, Hardy.
He saw through what you were doing.
Yeah, because that was the show for the last few months at BCN, was me just announcing my expertise when it came to sports.
Right, just rattling off jersey numbers from players over the years.
That was what sports. It's not unlike what Sports Talk Radio was
right at the beginning. Down to the fan in New York.
That's number 11 of all time.
Well, let's go over the box score. 4 at-bats, 1 hit, 1 run scored.
Sports Talk Radio was not the entertainment business that it is now.
No.
It was at one point you were not far off. You could, the Mount Rushmore of sports, as much as you want to make that like a goof, it was something that was done.
Yeah,
quite often. Every idea was an idea to generate phone calls. All right, so he's not here, but we can talk a little bit about the tournament. I was telling Hardy off the air, actually, this NBA draft is awesome. It's so bad. Now, the kid that I have heard that has the biggest chance of popping that could be an all-star is the 23-year-old from Tennessee.
Dalton Connect.
That he is
scored 37 points in the Elite Eight. Oh, no. Well, yeah, the Elite Eight game.
But this is a kid that was a journeyman college basketball player. He was, he had to, plead for his lunch. This is not some NIL kid. This is the kid that finally got on Tennessee last year. He's 23 years old. I think it was his 5th year of major college basketball.
Back and forth with Edie in that game. It was great. He was really good.
And that he has the chance. There's some people that think he has all-star potential, but the other guys, Wolf. Bad. But but UConn has got two kids.
Yep.
Stefon Castle, who in the mock draft in the Ringer by Kevin O'Connor, our friend, has going second.
Yes.
And then the talker that you hate.
Klingon. If you take a look, read it if you have a second. Just take a look at the weaknesses that Kevin O'Connor talks about with Klingon. Hackable foul shooting, meaning you foul that guy deliberately to put him on the line.
Yeah, borderline hackable free throw shooter. Borderline, who made 51.7% as a freshman.
Yeah.
And just 57% as a sophomore.
He hasn't gotten much better. You know, he is very limited offensively. His range is 3 feet and in. I know this because I watched him play 2 games at the Garden last week.
So why would Zach Edey not be taken ahead of him? Like, why would Donovan Klingon be taken like way ahead of Zach?
He's a little quicker. Klingon
he's a slow-footed perimeter. Well, this just shows you how bad the draft is.
Yeah,
but he's quicker than Edey, which is true.
Yes,
but this is the knock on him. He's a slow-footed perimeter defender who needs to prove he can defend in space to have scheme flexibility. So, if you don't know what we're talking about, he's a 7'2". He's a really good defensive player for UConn.
Yes,
he's going to be a lottery pick in the draft. But obviously in the NBA now, bigs have to, look at your own team, Porzingis. You have to be able to shoot threes and you have to be able to
this kid can't
defend the perimeter. Look at the big men in the NBA now, and this kid can't.
No.
But he's going to be a lottery pick. He's going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, Jeff Goodman, who we had on last week, said this is the worst draft he's seen in years. And then he tweeted after being on that the NBA executives he's talked to say it's the worst NBA draft any of them can ever remember.
Yeah, it's the worst NBA draft ever, is what the deal is.
That's why Klingon could be a top 5 pick if the right team takes him.
And by the way, the last few drafts have not been, outside of Wembanyama, have not been to my recollection, sensational exercises and superstardom.
That's right. That kid Brandon Miller, who went right behind Wembanyama, plays for Charlotte. Just saw him against the Celtics. He really has gotten good. But yes, more often than not, there are misses. Yes.
Well, even if they become good pros, congratulations. I'm just talking about star power going into the draft, guys that you were like, oh wow. And Wembanyama was just all based on what we had heard. Obviously, none of them saw him play in France.
But it's a shame because the NBA draft is the one draft where you can say, all right, if there is a clear-cut number 1 or even 2 and 3 guy that whether you saw him play or not, that player you can expect to see on their team next year a lot. And it's even better than a quarterback because, A, you don't even know if the quarterback, Caleb Williams, I would expect is going to play, but you're only going to see him out there half the game, and he might stink. Wembanyama, you had a pretty good idea. No, this kid is elite, and he's special, and you're going to see him play every night. You're going to see him a lot. And you get the immediate payoff the following season of that guy being out there.
The NBA draft, in a lot of ways, has kind of turned into the Major League Baseball draft. You draft a guy, you hope he develops in 3 or 4 years, and then he hits. And unfortunately, you look at the draft this year. This I don't know I forget who Kevin O'Connor is going for.
France.
Sarr, that kid from France.
Yeah, France.
Yeah,
he's number 1 in everyone's draft.
Yeah, he's a center. But again, plays in France. No one has seen him play. It's very hard for basketball fans in this country to look and go, oh, okay, Wembanyama is different. But with a guy like that, all you have is grainy video of a kid who plays twice a week.
What hopefully happens is with the NIL money that because what's already happening is that there's it's freshmen and then you'll see there's seniors, a lot of seniors coming out in the draft, but these are marginal talents in a bad draft. But what I would hope is, and I expect to see, is that remember when kids would just leave anyway? They would just leave college anyway. Even if they weren't going to get drafted, they'd get agents and just leave. And I'll sign on to a G League team. But this way, maybe a borderline lottery pick or a late first round pick might go, all right, why not stay another year in college?
Yeah,
make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. We've heard now from various people that I was completely unaware how much these kids are offered to play at some of these schools. Wouldn't you rather have another year at Kansas than get paid $2 million than
Seriously,
you would.
get paid $2 million. You get a car to ride around in, go to a fraternity party. I mean, Jesus. Plus, be a college kid.
For the college players, yes, but for the players overseas, like who's the other kid in France that they said might be the number one pick?
No, Sar's the number one pick. There's a kid from Serbia that's going to be in there, and there's a kid from Lithuania that's going to be in there.
One of the CBS mocks had Zachary Rice.
Yeah, he's 10th in the Ringer one.
Okay, but even he is listed, and this was a month ago when CBS said he's as good of any of them. He could go number one. He would need time to develop the physicality required to thrive in the NBA.
A lot of these kids
he
are
wouldn't
like
even
that.
play.
A lot of these kids are like that. And these are the kids that you spend a top 5 pick on and hope they hit. This kid Connect is different. He's a senior. What is he, 22, 23 years old?
23.
Yeah. He's been around. He's got significant experience, and that's a guy, getting back to your point from a couple of minutes ago, you could plug in and expect to play right after you draft him.
Yeah, he'll play. He'll play right away. I mean, his game, he's a big, tall kid that can shoot.
Yeah,
he's going to play.
6'6", 6'7".
Yeah,
I mean, and that's what the NBA is right now, 6'6", 6'7" guys who can guard everywhere.
I would assume that his problem would be defense, and the reason I make that assumption is he's white. No, the reason I make that assumption is because he is a great shooter and a great scorer, so there's got to be a flaw to his game.
There's got to be, but there's always a place for a guy who can shoot.
Absolutely.
In this league.
And that's what I'm saying, is that he's for sure going to play. And I like him at 23 in his 5th year more than I like Reed Shepherd at Kentucky, who's a freshman who's 20. Like, you're 20 and you're a freshman? Like, it's only the beginning of April. How the hell are you already 20?
Welcome to college basketball, man. That's the way it works.
Like, my son reclassified, and he's still only 15 as a freshman.
Redshirted already?
Well, I mean, they had COVID.
I'm sorry, reclassified.
They had COVID.
That
was it was not because I wanted to be a big hotshot.
Maybe you spent a year backpacking around Europe.
Oh, boy. This just in. Stefan, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, heads up for Hardy.
Hi.
Dylan Dreyer doing remotes on the Today Show from 9 to 10 from Augusta National.
Oh.
Thought you'd want to know.
Oh, man.
This morning?
Right now, I just at the gym, just saw her flash up and talk some golf.
All right, Hardy.
He's reaching for the remote.
Stefan, thank you so much.
He made his day.
We have lost Hardy. I mean, this is really something. Dylan Dreyer, Stefan, who would have won the
slow down, Hardy.
Would have won the Hardy contest, in my opinion, if there was not the reality of like the chance of meeting her. I think that brought her down. The idea that Mary Lou Retton he's already met, and she's all old now. The idea that him and Dylan Dreyer are sort of peers.
I wouldn't say peers. And
that.
okay, the threat of meeting her one day and having to be awkward, yes, but the certainty that I would be meeting my wife at home later on in the day after I chose Dylan Dreyer.
In the spirit of the competition, if we were going to really what was deep in Hardy's subconscious, the woman he'd most like to be with is Dylan Dreyer.
You can't say that.
And now she's at Augusta. And you know she asked to go to Augusta too, Hardy. That she was like, please fly me down to Augusta. Can I go early?
Seriously. A woman who made the Final Four of your bracket who likes golf and requested to be at the Masters?
I explained this
You got to
before.
rethink this.
I'm willing to explain it again. I actually think it was too much too soon for Dylan in the golf assignments, and that was actually a mark against her. I don't think she deserved all the golf things that she got to do because she started playing the game like 5 years ago, and then 8 months later they're like, oh, we have a golfer on staff, you should go to St. Andrews and cover the British Open, you should go to Augusta and like, she doesn't deserve to be there.
Ray Knight's wife is the one who should be doing it.
Jealousy is a terrible thing.
Who's Ray Knight's wife again? The lady, that pro golfer that he married, the real good one from when we were kids.
Lopez? Nancy
Yes.
Lopez?
Nancy Lopez.
Is that right?
Oh.
Yeah, he was married to her. So you want Nancy Lopez. You got to put in your hours.
I'm just saying
10,000 hours.
It was just a little too obvious from the assignment editor to be like, oh, Dylan started playing golf. You play golf, right? You're going to Augusta. You're going to get to, play the par 3 course. I mean,
What if, though, Hardy, just if you could even imagine it, that no one else on the very large on-air staff of NBC News played golf? None of the other females played golf.
Why does it have to be a female that gets to go?
because they wanted a female, obviously, to cover it. They wanted a female representation at the Masters. I mean, that's obvious what they want. Are you saying there shouldn't be a female down there, Hardy? Machi, in this world where we're celebrating women's college basketball?
I'm saying
Final Fours tonight.
I'm saying Augusta National thinks there shouldn't be a woman there.
Yeah,
they did that.
You have to be in the Bush administration.
Begrudgingly, yes. They boycott. When they did the whole boycott thing, the Masters said, oh, they got wind that there was going to be advertising boycott. And as we all know from watching hour upon hour of coverage on Saturday and Sunday of the Masters, there's only 4 minutes of commercials in each hour on CBS on Saturday and Sunday. They do a 2-minute break at the bottom and a 2-minute break at the top. It's fantastic.
More Jim Nance for everybody.
During that first big boycott, when they were doing the protests outside, there was, whispers that Travelers Insurance and Cadillac and IBM, I think were the only 3 commercial buyers. They were going to pull their advertising. And Augusta National, before they had a chance to make any announcement, said, actually, as we control the broadcast of this tournament on CBS, we won't be accepting any advertising this year. So you will get wall-to-wall coverage for 4 or 5 hours without commercial interruption. Just so you know. Oh, by the way, next year too. So whatever boycott you're thinking about doing, don't even bother. We won't be having any commercials. That went on for 2 years. And then magically, sometime in that time, they admitted their first female member, and it was no longer an issue. Crafty. And also a neat trick you can pull when you have members like Warren Buffett. I don't know. The membership roster at Augusta National is this, really tightly held secret. But, Bill Gates, whatever, you can just pass the hat at a membership meeting and say, we need to come up with like $250 million for the next 2 years. Can we? Oh, yeah.
It's just so funny to me that is the place that you want to play golf, that it's a completely human invention. There's no anything else to it, right?
You can't even play golf there that much. They close for the summer. What?
I did not know that.
They play golf after the Masters for a couple of months, and then I think starting at the end of June, the course is closed all throughout July and August. Too hot, bad for the grass to have people walking on it and playing golf on it. So if you're a member at Augusta National, you can't play golf there in the summer.
But Pebble Beach is this power far greater than us has made this beautiful terrain in which we plowed and ruined to put a golf course in. But at least you go oh, this is majestic. Augusta's just a hole, geographic hole, an economic hole. It's just this terrible place. And just, man, if there's no better testament to the power of man than that was willed into existence. And now everyone loves it.
Hallowed grounds. You're talking to a guy that actually was there.
Yeah, he was. And if you've ever been to
Augusta, there was an Arby's, there was a Kroger.
Yeah, it's just a
right
geographic. You couldn't think of a less likely place.
Yeah.
To have this world-renowned thing that billionaires all trip over themselves and that is talked about in hushed tones. It's just a dump city with a dump geographically. There's nothing special about the geography of it. There's nothing great about it. It's just golf just said here. And this is here. Put your finger on a map here. And I would contend there's really no less likely a geographic place. No natural, big bodies of water, nothing particularly interesting. You'd be better in a desert terrain, some of those courses in the Arizona are cool where there's grass and then desert.
How far south of the border and how far north of Atlanta is it?
It's 2 hours from Atlanta. It's on the border of South Carolina.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty. It's kind of northeast.
Yeah, it's northeast.
Northeast of Atlanta.
You'll never go there. There's no reason to go to and it's not even something you drive through to get to South Carolina.
Oh, it's out of the way. It's not near a major road.
No.
Okay.
Well, no. I mean, I'm sure a road you could take a highway there.
Okay. All right.
But there's no reason to go there. It's just a dump. It's really fascinating.
I thought that part of the story and the narrative on Augusta was a bit overblown. And then when you're leaving there and driving off the course, I think you might still be on Augusta National property. There's literally a supermarket. There's a little strip mall. It's right there. It's Hooters, Chili's,
It's where John Daly put up the Winnebago.
Yeah,
right
there's
there.
there's a little supermarket entrance to Augusta National. And it's right there.
So Augusta is probably, I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's east of Atlanta, and it's about, let's say, an hour and a half to 2 hours from the coast. So there's
really is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, so you'd be
Man.
driving through Augusta to get to central South Carolina where you'd never go. So it's not like it's bordering South Carolina by Savannah. Like Savannah's down there. Like you fly into Savannah. Like I'm doing it next week. You fly into Savannah, you drive to the coast, and then Savannah is like a cool little place. No. Augusta, no. There's no reason it exists.
Yeah.
All right, very good. When we come back, Crash Clark has texted me.
Oh.
Said East Lake Country Club in Atlanta is less likely. It's beautiful, and it's in an impoverished area. I will say this, is that at least it's in Atlanta, and at least, I'm sure there's a lake.
Yep.
East Lake?
Got it.
Is there a lake at Augusta?
But there's Rays Creek. Oh, everything breaks towards Rays Creek. If you're unsure about the break on a putt
What hole
at
is
Augusta
that?
National,
What hole is that?
it runs throughout the property, dumbass.
I'm sorry.
All putts, just very ever so slightly, John, break toward Rays Creek.
And that could be
Rays Creek.
the difference between wearing that green jacket and just being a piece of garbage that dies in a hole. Is that little touch.
That's written on a plaque right outside the clubhouse underneath the oak tree where the members gather before the ceremonial opening.
You know what a fun exercise is? Go back and see what the Masters champs picked to have for their dinner and see what underlying racism lies in all.
Can we actually really do that? Because I do like doing that.
You can do whatever you want next week. Next week is yours.
All right. Because John Rahm's dinner that he chose for this year, ugh, gross.
Oh, it's Bayou food, though.
No, John Rahm is from New Orleans.
It's the Bayou.
Okay. It's all Spanish stuff and like seafood. Ugh.
Hard doesn't care for it.
Seafood? You don't care for seafood. That's right. No. That's too bad.
You know me. I seafood, I eat it.
Yeah, that's your seafood diet.
All right. So when we come back, the world-winning email bit.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, it's time for the award-winning email bit. Adam Peterson says, I have the greatest idea ever of my life, and I'm going to share it with you. It's a television reboot that would be the best ever. The show is called Retired with Children. Alan and Peg live in a retirement community in Florida. Bud still lives with his parents. Kelly is dating an 80-plus-year-old man in another condo waiting to get his will. Story arc for season 1 is he dies, and it turns out he was in just a bunch of debt, and she takes it on. That's actually not a bad idea. Unfortunately, the woman who played Kelly is, I think she has like MS or something. I don't mean to bring it down, but I will, if I can't take a nap, I will get on YouTube because it's the only time I use my tablet is before I take a nap. You can come to your own conclusions why that is, what can make a man tired in the middle of the day. But I will watch Al Bundy just insulting
Reading the
fact checks.
classics on your Kindle?
No.
Oh.
But I will watch Al Bundy making fun of fat women. There are supercuts of it that I will watch. Him at the shoe store.
Oh, yeah.
And then and I just go, who's this poor actress that's come in? And sometimes they'll be with child. They'll like have a child with them, an overweight child. And Al Bundy will go like, this is your future to them. And then you're like, how'd you get away with that? Hardy's on it. By the way, we're on YouTube now, not Twitch. You can watch us at search the Sports Hub on YouTube.
I've decided I'm going away from the emails. I'm just going to read YouTube comments for the email segment.
Okay.
At your own risk.
Positive experience. Yes.
You know, because have you been sucked into the YouTube comments?
Oh, I've been like reading them every once in a while.
And they're not crushing your soul?
No, that was another thread that I made the mistake of reading last night, something online, which I can't. It put me in such a foul mood, too.
Yeah.
And then my wife always says the same thing. She's like, why? Why do you read them? I'm like, I don't seek them out, but it like popped up as like a notification because I got tagged in something.
You don't
and then you see this whole thread. I know.
You don't have
I know. But I got away from even like posting stuff.
Okay.
Well, quite a while ago, before this show started.
Posting stuff on what source?
Anything. Like Facebook, I've been done with for years.
Yeah, I don't post anything on Facebook.
And then I stopped posting on Twitter, and then I posted something on Instagram last week, I think, or over the weekend, but that was the first thing I posted in a while. Other than, the stuff that Nick does, I think is really good, the videos. So I don't even know what I'm doing when I'm asked to collaborate.
You're collabing.
I say yes, and I guess it gets posted into my feed.
You guess. It's a collab.
I don't know.
You and Nick uniting in one collaborative force. By the way, do you guys know who Mark James Benardzik is? He's a sports broadcaster.
No.
I don't know. I got a Google alert yesterday, and he was saying very nice things about me. I have no idea. But
there you go.
So I'm all for him.
Okay.
All right. I'll read you something else. This is from Bill Sparrows. He writes, for the Herald.
Mm-hmm.
Says the Augusta Women's Tournament is this weekend, and it's on Golf Channel /NBC. Thus, the future Mrs. Hardy's attendance cheers. So the Augusta Women's Tournament, which Hardy seems to be unaware of, will that be covered on the golf show?
Well, the golf show doesn't start until Sunday of Masters weekend.
And that's by design.
So
2 weeks, right?
Yeah, a week from Sunday.
A week from Sunday.
Oh.
You don't, yeah. Yes. I mean, a week from Sunday. Now, what will you do for the Masters? That's the question. Yeah, a week from Sunday. A week from Sunday is the final round of the Masters.
That's right. That's right. Fred's right.
So what will you be doing on that Sunday?
Watching every single shot start to finish. It is the one thing I don't move for. I don't miss anything for. If I do have to leave the house for anything, I record it and then I catch up, which is difficult to do because there's very limited commercial interruption. But Saturday, Sunday, I watch more TV on Saturday and Sunday of Masters weekend than I do in probably a month's time.
And you'll sit there and you'll just and you're engrossed in it, like it's entertaining, even though the shots are 15 minutes apart.
They're not.
5 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart.
No.
The shots of the same golfer.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But that's the beauty of this tournament. Let me tell you something, Fred. The Masters starts on the back nine on Sunday. Okay? So
what a delicious twist.
It really, really is. So you can be enthralled and wrapped up in all the, moving day on Saturday, up and down the leaderboard. Who's going to put themselves in position to really have a shot at the green jacket on Sunday? But if you're not watching the back, if someone's got a 5-stroke lead making the turn, doesn't matter. That tournament starts on the 10th tee on Sunday. That's when it all really comes down. And we've seen fortunes gained and squandered over those 9 holes.
I wish the Masters was during holiday book, because I'd honestly just turn on the mics and I just go, Hardy, you do you. You just go. Because I have no doubt that Hardy could fill 4 hours of radio time babbling about the Masters.
Yeah, especially if it were on, and then I could tell my own anecdotes
about
off
when you
the
were
cuff.
there.
Oh, yeah, sure. Those are going to be sprinkled in naturally. I wouldn't have to wedge them in, but I could tell you as they go to the playoff hole where Bubba Watson won, and I could say, when I was walking down that hole, I was looking for the spot where Bubba hit. He's a lefty, and he put his tee shot right, and he had to hit a hook out of the trees. On that playoff hole, and I was kind of looking for a spot, and there was a man in a green jacket down there. He said, "You're looking for the Bubba spot, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "Come on over here, young man." And he stood right on the spot where Bubba Watson hit that shot, and he and I just pondered together at the majesty of that shot, how he was able to pull it off, hit a hook shot with a wedge from that distance.
They're the famous same-sex couple that were making out in that year's Masters. You remember they had the footage of the gallery, and there was those two guys going at it?
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah, it was Hardy.
Oh,
what are you confused about?
I'm not confused about anything. I have a listener here who tweeted me very, very quickly, and it said you were talking about fortunes won and lost. Ask Hardy about Jordan Spieth in 2016.
All right, let's not indulge him to
means.
this degree, Wallach. Your instincts are on point as always.
2 in the drink on Rays Creek on the 12th hole.
Rays Creek, see? We brought it all the way back around. Look at that.
2.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Very good.
Rays Creek, Fred.
If it was
all pots head towards Rays Creek.
If it was an unrated book, it would be like a mini vacation for us.
Yeah.
Our responsibility would just be getting up that morning.
Don't worry, Marathon Monday, you and me, bud. We'll go over the Masters for you.
Machi, I can't believe you guys got to do a show from there.
It's going to be glorious.
That sucks.
So the 12th hole, as all holes are at Augusta, has its own name. It's called Golden Bell. Why, Fred? Listen on Monday to find
Shirley
out.
Temple.
That's right.
The Golden Bell of cinema.
Well done. Yes.
I'll tell you this, is that you guys, on April 15th, the Hardy and Wallach will be out in Hopkinton, Massachusetts.
Stop by. Say hello. A week from Monday.
At the start of the Boston Marathon, which lends itself to comedy, guests, everything else. What? It's such a good idea that you guys are there. I mean, the crowd around the start, that everyone who's running the race will be super interested in seeing you guys.
Right.
What majesty to be broadcasting from the start of the marathon, something that no one cares about, that everyone will.
The hell you say? That's not true
no one
at all.
cares about who wins that race. You know it, and I know it.
It's not about who wins, Fred. It's about who's willing to go out there and actually do the thing.
It's an effort.
I know who's willing to do it. They're running down Commonwealth Avenue every Sunday and Saturday morning. I know them all. I see them all. There are hundreds of them.
That's true.
They were running this morning.
There was a problem with them running the route too. But did you see that story? They're like, "Hey, all you people running up and down the marathon route for your training, you can't be running here all the time and running in the street and messing with traffic."
It's called the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Well, they, Commonwealth has that parallel road to it, like in that area by the fire station.
That's right.
And they've taken that road as like a running road. So, like, if you have the audacity, you have to cross it in an automobile. You will wait until all the runners have passed, because they can't stop. It's not good for the heart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't stop. Then you got to jog in place.
Yeah.
So, like, they really give you side eyes, and sometimes they'll yell, which I always think is funny.
Have you gotten yelled at?
Yeah, but I just
Really?
think it's like a real dangerous game to be yelling at cars. And I understand it's Newton, probably nothing's going to happen, but I mean, I just like, maybe careful. Like, you're running around in tights. Like, maybe you shouldn't be yelling at cars. Yell at me all you want. I'm not doing anything about it. But you yell at like some pissed off drunk guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a gun. Hachi Manchi. I told you the person got shot in a golf cart by a guy where my parents live. Guy playing golf, like yelled at a dude in a pickup truck because like he thought the guy wasn't letting him cross the road in the golf cart. The guy yells at the dude in the pickup truck. Guy in the pickup truck gets out with a gun, shoots him dead right there in Tellico Village. Shoots him dead, and then the woman got eaten by her dog, which turned out to be true.
The woman got eaten by her dog?
We had a phone call about it. He was on the air with us when we got that phone call. It wasn't the old show.
Okay.
My mom told me that a woman got eaten by her dog in Tellico Village, and I said, no way that happened. Like, my mom's all old, and she got the story wrong. And then a guy called in who was a lawyer, and he's like, oh, yeah, there's this, like, database. And sure enough, and he read to us the story. This woman was eaten by her dog.
If Hardy doesn't remember, it might have been in that interim 6-week period.
Oh, that tiny 2-month period where we had a rotating guest host, and then people judged the show and said, "Oh boy,
yeah,
you seem off today." Oh, really? That we're working with different people every single day. Some of them who've never guest hosted the show before.
That period of time right there, yes.
Yeah, and you wanted it was highly rated, but you wanted it to be seamless. How dare you? How dare you? What John and I accomplished should be applauded, not lauded. Applauded and not taken down. And I don't know what you were reading, Harley, but
isn't lauded and applauded the same thing?
Yes, I made a mistake. They rhymed, so it sounded good in my head, but it was not the case. All right, when we come back, we'll have the stack, and then we can leave for the weekend, and I can get my tickets I cried for the Bruins game.
Mm-hmm.
And since I cried for them and the station said they had to buy them, I highly doubt I'll be at the box anymore.
Go down to Seat Cloth's office there and demand a hard ticket. Say, no, I don't want any electronic mail transfer. I want tickets. I want to hold them in my hand.
Give me the cardboard.
I'll go, Seat Cloth, where do you think you are without me?
Yeah, that's good. Lead with that.
That's what I go, where is this place without me, buddy?
Yeah.
This whole thing rests with me.
Good.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Sports Hub headlines.
Bruins finished up their 6-game road trip with a record of 4-2. They've scored a road win over the Carolina Hurricanes last night, 4-1. Brad Marchand, his 400th career goal. Bruins host the Florida Panthers tomorrow afternoon. Celtics host the Sacramento Kings tonight. Grandy and Max at the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jaylen Brown and Derek White are both listed as questionable. Patriots have the 3rd overall pick in this month's NFL Draft. They will host North Carolina quarterback Drake May today and Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels on Monday. And the Red Sox are off last night. Cutter Crawford pitches against the Angels out in Anaheim late this evening. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10 o'clock.
Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
It is time for the stack. Brought to you by Best Ford. Looking for great deals on a new Ford? Go to the Best First, Best Ford in Nashua. Head to bestfordnh.com. And it's an exciting time to be with the Toucher and Hardy show because this hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Hardy, it's your show. You go.
There's bad news for Patrick Mahomes Sr. Third offense DWI. Last time he spent, I believe, 4 months?
40 days.
40 days.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Thank you. This happened on February 3rd, and I remember this around the time of the Super Bowl during a routine traffic stop. Authorities noticed signs of impairment. He also had an open beer in his center console. Declined to address the situation 2 days later at the opening night media availability before the Super Bowl, but he has 2 prior convictions, 2012, 2018, 40 days behind bars for the second one. So Patrick Mahomes Sr. is going to be dealing with that.
I think his first one was he got out, like he only did weekends. If I'm remembering it correctly, like he came in on the weekends to jail, and it's like, so it was like kind of like a weird sentence. He's going to go to jail for real.
Yeah,
your third DUI nowadays.
This is a felony. He's going to jail.
Yeah, your third DUI is not a pleasant experience. It's real court, like real problems, real. Yeah. It shows, I think, a lack of judgment. One DUI, you would figure that who hasn't have made a mistake in their lives, and you just happen to get caught, and it's a good thing no one got hurt, and learn your lesson and go about your business. It's you lose driving privileges for a while, you pay a fine. All right, just don't do this again. Very bad things could happen. The second you're like, all right, you got a problem. You gotta cut this out. Like, here's what jail's like. You can't be pulling this anymore. And the third, you're like, well, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
You're in this. There has to be consequences.
Fred, I can't believe you didn't bring this up earlier in the show. Breaking news out of Baltimore. Kyle Van Noy is back on a 2-year deal.
Now, did he put anything? I refuse to look. Did he put anything on Twitter?
I did look, and all he did was post the Baltimore Ravens press release. And
so he learned his lesson.
I'm sorry, and he also posted a video. Pat McAfee during Pat McAfee's show. Yeah, we knew this guy. Congratulations to Kyle Van Noy for signing again with Baltimore. That's what he posted.
Oh, it's just such a shock that those two douches are friends.
The two of them are apparently good buddies.
Yeah, wow, that's a real big surprise. If you don't know why Colin Van Noy is an object of ridicule on this show, when he signed with the Patriots years ago, he said he made a hype video.
Pats Nation, I'm back.
And then I thought, no one cares.
But
no one cares.
Hardy was
but
working.
Kyle Van Noy was good. I don't care. No one cares. No one went to a game to see Kyle Van Noy.
It was a ratings boon for the show Hardy was on at the time.
Oh, that's right. You had to deal with that.
You had
Nation.
Oh, Hardy's talked to him, which means he likes him, which means that I'm making a mistake here.
I will say nothing bad about Kyle Van Noy. He used to be a weekly guest on the Zolak and Bertrand
I
show.
can't believe he did it. It seems like something he would never do.
Too much publicity.
I mean, are you going to talk to me? How hard was it to get him off the phone?
And he was a Canton guy. He lived on Sherman Street in a very modest home during his first stint with the Pats. When he came back, he moved into a much nicer home, but he knew a good town when he found it. And he came back.
You know what? If Hardy will make friends with you. He won't say anything bad about you, but he'll certainly spill the beans on your living arrangements and where you're playing golf. Lord have mercy.
Well, was I ever friends with those people?
Well, I mean, if Kyle Van Noy, you could have made friends with him. You could have reached the handout just because he's famous. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to meet people.
I don't think that puts him in a bad light. I think it puts him in a good light.
I didn't say put him in a bad light. I said that it's just his personal business that you're exposing to the world. What if he wants to move back to Canton to that particular street? And why are you in everyone's business? Is another question.
Oh, we all knew. We all knew where he lived.
I mean, that doesn't speak highly of Canton. That stupid Kyle Van Noy gets that kind of attention.
He wasn't stupid. He was a thoughtful.
Yeah,
and,
Fred.
And as John would say, well-spoken.
All right, go ahead.
City Councilor Ed Flynn represents South Boston.
Yeah, he does.
Wants a hearing to discuss lowering the speed limit in the city limits. I don't know.
To the, what? Because bikes beat people on the freeway.
So
people literally on two-wheel pedal bikes can beat you on the. They ride on the freeway and they go faster.
7 years ago, the city lowered its default speed limit. So if you're not sure and you're driving around in the city streets of Boston, you're not sure, know this. The speed limit is no higher than 25 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
So you're driving down Boylston, you're driving down Comm Ave, you're not, well, what's the speed limit? 25.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he wants it even lower than that. 25 miles per hour is excessive, especially through Boston's neighborhoods. I think it should be 20 or even 15, I would consider. I have a 15-mile-per-hour zone near where I live, and let me tell you, it's damn near impossible to drive 15 miles an hour.
That seems like a bit of a God complex, that the guy just wants to do it because he can. Like, there's no real practical thing. There's no study that's been done that it's much safer. It's just him just trying to throw his weight around a little bit. Just him going, oh, I'm a big shot. I can tell you how fast to go.
Beetle has something on this, I could tell. Or were you just waving hello?
No, I'm just waving hello. I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Lowering the speed limit in Boston from a top speed of 25 to 20 or even 15.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, no one's going to observe it or follow it.
No.
I don't know who gets to go so fast in Boston.
Well, there are
it's
cars.
the middle of the night.
I'm saying there are cars that idle and go 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing?
Zoe banged out today.
Oh, come on a Friday?
What's wrong?
On a Friday?
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
Is it the hot water heater? What's the problem?
Want to make sure he gets well soon.
What was there? Was there a chief symptom or a major complaint?
Throat.
You
Yes.
got to be careful with that. You go see Dr. Zeitels. I'm starting to think there's a correlation between him busting my balls so much about missing work and his constant absences.
No.
You think?
I'm starting to
like
think
a
that
deflection
maybe
going on?
that was a bit of a deflection. I didn't realize it at the time.
I
but,
hadn't considered that.
Yeah. And perhaps I was doing the same. Who knows? All right. That'll do it for us. Everyone have a great day. Bye.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5.